blind babies looking for food. Starvation, the recipe, people subdued. When the people you trust got it in for you. Deceit is the word of the day, and every clue, don't let it go. It's from the days of old. Time is up, but some still do not know. Can I make up my mind? Is it worth the dime? Do I have to take a minute just to make it mine? Life's never fair, but don't listen to the TV. Go out and take a listen to the streets, with the people in the slums and the homeless bums, with degrees and degrees sitting under a tree. It's not easy in the world for the poor man, the one that brought you to reality. See, they don't want you to know about the black sheep, leaving 7 roads to the 12 families all around the globe with an ancient code. Is it really asking a lot to say a death ode? Cause we sitting on the earth looking back at extinct, and I'm standing on some ground that's about to sink. I ain't scared for a minute, I ain't about to blink, but I documented for the world what I see and think. Feel we on the call and I feel we on the break. All Congress gonna do is waste paper and ink. Vote or die, you voted and you'll die. You can have it both ways, can't say it's a lie. You can march all you want, but they playing you wrong. They only understand war, it's the same old song. They want war, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. War, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. Like a lotus coming out of the mud with colors, I create envy in those with power but jealous. I unify the poor with my song, the hell with the others. Descended the way they treat indigenous brothers, cause I understand we link forever. They try to hate us even though that we keep it together. I'm not talking about controlling the air or the weather, I'm talking about maintaining the truth, the high endeavor. A rebel drops bombs in the midst of trouble. The free world counterattack, and now there's double. But nature gets the shit in the way to settle. If you stop the machines for a minute, you might hear, but they won't, cause the TVs whisper in the ear. And capitalism has eyes that don't tear, and they cloud up and get crazy and won't stare. And like an ab, it's hard to get an ass to listen. Living like this is like living in prison. It's hard to keep hope when you're living in prison. The spiritual thoughts, so yes, the mental prison. The outside, yes, it's got to get through. Something's gotta die, so something here can live. Your life is nothing if you got nothing to give. Keeping the spiritual, yes, disguised as religion. Controlling your mind, the mental prison. They want war, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. War, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war.
Alrighty. So we back, y'all. What can I say? These are actually some very sad days. Just watching the developments, and let me know if the audio is good. Okay, I think I can hear it. Yeah. And it's not good. These are different times. The U.S. is not the same. Anybody that tries to tell you the U.S. is the same is essentially a brainwashed person or a troll, somebody actively working. Are very, very different than the U.S. has been, different than my generation has ever known. People that are alive right now, you don't know this generation. You don't know this, and, of course, you have Elon Musk. This is the Elon Musk generation where the disinformation is larger than ever with the advent of social media. So that's like a little hidden playground that affects elections, affects public sentiment and things like this. But anybody that has a rational brain knows that it's not normal to send the military out on the street against American people. It's not normal to have masked military men on the street. That's not normal. And all you have to do is do the data on the street in the communities and listen to the communities. I mean, And they will tell you that those things aren't normal. It's not, to have a pedophile, or a pedophile lover, a pedophile protector, be the president of the United States. That's insane. To have a person that hangs out with the biggest pedophile, and if you want to call him that, or sex trafficker, also Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, one of the closest friends to that person has invited Putin to become part of the United States of America. Has invited Elon Musk, the richest man on earth, to basically own the United States of America. And you've watched it with your own eyes. You've watched a person who's a naturalized citizen get access to Treasury information. Huge breaches of security. And these are unprecedented times. You didn't see that in Obama's presidency. You didn't see the richest man in the world get access right on your face on TV to the Treasury. You didn't see that, and you didn't get to see someone walk in a bunch of hackers with no accountability. People that are not government employees, right? They do not take an oath. No hacker working for Elon Musk took an oath to the United States of America. And, these are the people you have walking around in there now. So these are not normal times. Our generation, my generation, we barely had one TV, in a house. When I'm 55 years old, so I grew up in the 70s. I was lucky enough to have a TV. And I remember when it was just black and white TV. I remember when it converted to color TV, and we didn't watch a lot of TV back then, obviously. We listened to a little radio, but we spent a lot more time out on the streets with each other. So disinformation didn't have such a huge impact on people's lives, Everyone that you heard some information from, you pretty much had to look them in the eyes. You got to meet people. There was no hiding from people. And you didn't have fake troll accounts where that's only been active for like 1 month or 2 months or a year. You know what I mean? Look at my account. I've had my account since 2013, even though I didn't really even use it. I only had a couple of videos uploaded there, but it gives you a good indication that I'm not a troll. But if you want to look, I'm just keeping it real. I'm just saying. So if you want to study how active trolls are, all you got to do is go look at their profile. Pick somebody right now and go look at their profile. Someone that's writing some crazy stuff in the chat from time to time. Actually click on their profile and see how long they've been on YouTube, because these trolls like to have a lot of different accounts. They go around saying things. They don't have information or pictures about themselves. I'm not saying everybody has to do that, but I mean, come on. When you really, 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 really got an opinion, you might want to show a little bit of yourself. You know what I'm saying? When you have a real or incredibly, different opinion. But in any case, we all know what it is. If you think the military walking around in D.C. with masks on is normal, then you probably never really spent much time in D.C. If you think I don't know what community you come from in the United States of America where you see people walking around with masks. I'm trying to figure out what generation saw that. Who saw that? How long ago was that? Does that happen with mask? You might have seen military before. You've never seen people walking around with mask. You've never seen that. You've never seen it in your life unless you're in another country somewhere. You know what I'm saying? That's never been what's going on in the U.S. So, but in any case, shit ain't going back. You're not going backwards. You're not going back to the place where you had a birther conspiracy. You're not going back where you had to watch the black dude and his wife with a degree, right? You're not going back to that time where that angered you just seeing that. That time wasn't good enough for you. Those were horrible times. You don't ever want to relive those times. No. Those were oppressive regime times. Right now, what you see is peace and love. in the streets. You see the best time according to the trolls, you've seen the best time the U.S. has ever had. It's a gold rush, y'all. Get out there and get some of that gold, y'all. There's no inflation. You know, shit's not more expensive. According to the trolls, it's not, and it's also normal to just wear a mask and mask up and carry your guns and walk in the street and just grab people. Don't identify your agency or anything. Those are normal times for trolls. So you trolls, hey, you could keep that life. I hope that's a good life for you. I'm happy I don't have that life living outside of the U.S. as an American citizen. I'm not seeing military march down the street with the mask. I just had a nice little subway ride home, tickling my, drinking my little latte on the subway, on the metro, you know what I'm saying? And now I'm kicking back in my crib, about to do a podcast. My kids, they get paid to go to school. My insurance is covered. I'm not really complaining. I'm in one of the places they call the happiest place on earth, actually. And now I fucking see why. Because the United States of America definitely is not the happiest place on earth. I think it ranks like where 20. I mean, in Biden times, it ranked 24. So this is Trump times. It probably is close. It's going to be ranked number 150 very soon. And we're going to see how much people actually like that time once it gets there. I mean, we're going to see if the trolls like it. Of course, the trolls are probably somewhere in Russia. But let's get back to the good old times. Let's get back to the good old times when we had someone half decent that could see the future. I don't know.
So yesterday we learned that Donald Trump's former chief of staff, John Kelly, a retired four-star general, confirmed that while Donald Trump was president, he said he wanted generals like Adolf Hitler had. Donald Trump said that because he does not want a military that is loyal to the United States Constitution. He wants a military that is loyal to him. He wants a military who will be loyal to him personally, one that will obey his orders even when he tells them to break the law or abandon their oath to the Constitution of the United States. In just the past week, Donald Trump has repeatedly called his fellow Americans the enemy from within, and even said that he would use the United States military to go after American citizens. And let's be clear about who he considers to be the enemy from within. Anyone who refuses to bend a knee or dares to criticize him would qualify, in his mind, as the enemy within, like judges, like journalists, like nonpartisan election officials. It is deeply troubling and incredibly dangerous that Donald Trump would invoke Adolf Hitler, the man who is responsible for the deaths of 6 million Jews and hundreds of thousands of Americans. All of this is further evidence for the American people of who Donald Trump really is. This is a window into who Donald Trump really is, from the people who know him best, from the people who worked with him side by side in the Oval Office.
I'm gonna give you guys an example. There's somebody in the chat called Michael Marciano. He says, "Bye, loser." I just clicked on his profile, and it says he joined October 3rd, 2022. So basically, he's a troll. He doesn't have anything of his life to share because he doesn't want you judging him for his real life. So instead, he's just here trolling, flipping accounts. Let me see who else. I don't know if you saw that. So somebody, this is what it is. You have a lot of this on the internet. And again, I encourage everyone, when you see somebody in the chat with the sickest, most nastiest words, just click on the profile and take a look at it.
And in the Situation Room. And it is clear from John Kelly's words that Donald Trump is someone who, I quote, certainly falls into the general definition of fascists, who in fact vowed to be a dictator on day one and vowed to use the military as his personal militia to carry out his personal and political vendettas. Donald Trump is increasingly unhinged and unstable. And in a second term, people like John Kelly would not be there to be the guardrails against his propensities and his actions. Those who once tried to stop him from pursuing his worst impulses would no longer be there, and no longer be there to rein him in. So the bottom line is this. We know what Donald Trump wants. He wants unchecked power. The question in 13 days will be, what do the American people want? Donald Trump.
And the American people chose Donald Trump with a little help from Elon Musk. They chose dictatorship. They chose babies getting snatched from their families. They chose American citizens being thrown on airplanes and taken to other countries. They chose masked men walking in their streets. Whatever comes out of this, they chose. No matter what happens, it was a choice. And somehow somebody said this before they chose. And that's very, very interesting. So let's listen again and see if any of this is happening right now.
Donald Trump's former chief of staff, John Kelly, a retired four-star general, confirmed that while Donald Trump was president, he said he wanted generals like Adolf Hitler had. Donald Trump said that because he does not want a military that is loyal to the United States Constitution. He wants a military that is loyal to him. He wants a military who will be loyal to him personally, one that will obey his orders even when he tells them to break the law or abandon their oath to the Constitution of the United States. In just the past week, Donald Trump has repeatedly called his fellow Americans the enemy from within, and even said that he would use the United States military to go after American citizens. And let's be clear about within. And even said that he would use the United States military to go after American citizens. Military to go after American citizens. And let's be clear about who he considers to be the enemy from within. Anyone who refuses to bend a knee or dares to criticize him would qualify, in his mind, as the enemy within, like judges, like journalists, like nonpartisan election officials. It is deeply troubling and incredibly dangerous that Donald Trump would invoke Adolf Hitler, the man who is responsible for the deaths of 6 million Jews. And hundreds of thousands of Americans. All of this is further evidence for the American people of who Donald Trump really is. This is a window into who Donald Trump really is, from the people who know him best, from the people who worked with him side by side in the Oval Office and in the Situation Room. And it is clear from John Kelly's words that Donald Trump is someone who, I quote, certainly falls into the general definition of fascist, who in fact vowed to be a dictator on day one and vowed to use the military as his personal militia to carry out his personal and political vendettas. Donald Trump is increasingly unhinged and unstable. And in a second term, people like John Kelly would not be there to be the guardrails against his propensities and his actions. Those who once tried to stop him from pursuing his worst impulses would no longer be there, and no longer be there to rein him in. So the bottom line is this. We know what Donald Trump wants. He wants unchecked power. The question in 13 days will be, what do the American people want? Thank you.
Leaking the possibility through various news agencies that a transcript will be released of Todd Blanche's interview with Ghislaine Maxwell. There is no possibility that that transcript will include all of Todd Blanche's communication with Ghislaine Maxwell and her criminal defense lawyer.
Shortly.
I'm going to ask everybody to put their name on the record.
Good morning. My name is Assistant Special Agent in Charge Spencer Horn of FBI New York. Today we're doing a proffer of Ms. Maxwell. The date is July 24th and the time is 10:12 a.m. This interview is being recorded.
And my name is Todd Blanche. I'm the Deputy Attorney General. And before we start formally asking questions of Ms. Maxwell, I'm going to put on the record everybody that's in this room in addition to me. Starting with you, Diego.
Diego Pastana, Associate Deputy Attorney General.
And then you heard from Special Agent in Charge Horn. Mark Beard from the United States Marshal Service is here as well. And then David.
Yes, this is David Oscar Marcus, and I'm counsel for Ghislaine Maxwell.
My name is Thea Safian, and I'm counsel for Ghislaine Maxwell.
My name is Melissa Madrigal, and I'm counsel for Ghislaine Maxwell.
Go ahead.
And I'm Ghislaine Maxwell.
Good morning, Ms. Maxwell. How are you?
Good morning, Mr. Blanche.
Good. Okay, so before we started recording, we met for a few minutes. I introduced myself, and we chatted, and now I told you that we were going on the record. And before we start asking questions, I know that you've been given by your lawyer a copy of what's called a proffer agreement, and I just want to spend 2 minutes making sure that you understand what governs our conversation today. The most important part of this agreement is that this isn't a cooperation agreement, meaning that by you meeting with us today, we're really just meeting. I'm not promising to do anything. I'm not promising to ask Judge Nathan or any of the judges that's been assigned to your case to do anything. We're just talking, and so that's the most important part of this agreement. However, almost as important is the fact that what this agreement does for you is it gives you protection. So what it means is that the government...
Again, so more protection, more protection, more protection. And she is going to get her pardon. And it's going to come right before Trump is out and your boy, whatever the hell, J.D. Vance takes over. That's what's going to happen. And there's not going to be any accountability because the people that are part of that, they are numerous. And some of them are in the Senate, some are in Congress, some are in maybe possibly the Supreme Court. You don't know, but possibly. You know, they're not going to release it because if people realized how many people were involved, I mean, you're dealing with very well off people, not just people with money, not just entertainers and stuff like that. No, you're dealing with aristocrats, movers and shakers, people closer to the government than you might think. And so they're never going to tell people anymore. They're just not going to do it. And they don't care what it looks like to you at all. They don't care at all. If they cared, they wouldn't even be involved with this. But instead, the people that were involved with it, they are basically running the country now. They're basically running the country. And Ghislaine Maxwell, she said this some time ago. And she was telling her victims this some time ago. But nobody really stood up for the victims. Nobody stood up for the victims. And instead, people ridiculed the victims and they laughed at the victims, right? Because they figured these victims don't have power and their life doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything at all. So, you know, who cares? They're just some little girls. But the beauty of that scenario is that now you're the victim because you will experience what they experienced. You will experience the people that victimized them owning the FBI, owning the government, owning the Supreme Court. That's what you're going to witness now because it wasn't stopped back then.
None of the victims today have been informed about the facts that Maxwell was moved. And that, you know, is another just kind of slap in the face. It's also, I think, really important. There's an element of re-traumatization here. Because one of the things that Maxwell in particular did so effectively is she would taunt these victims and she would say, or people that would be in a position to know things, and she would say, you can't do anything because we own the police. We own the FBI. We own the district attorney's office. And
And people are going to learn what that's like now.
Cannot use what you say today against you, with some exceptions, which we'll talk about in a minute. But whatever you talk about today, you have what's called immunity. So that means that the words that you say today, we cannot use against you in a case in chief if we were ever to bring one. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, sweetie pie. Thank you, Donald.
There's exceptions to that. The most meaningful one of which is that if you say something today that's not true, that's a lie, we can bring a prosecution against you for what's called false statements. So I'm a federal officer.
She's not going to say anything. It's like all she's doing is saying, nope, I never saw anything. And you guys, they just seem like nice people.
I have several officers here. The FBI is here. And
I don't know how many of you have heard this stuff, but I actually listened to some of it. And she's not saying anything. I mean, nothing at all. She's not telling you anything about the acts. She doesn't reveal anybody, really. She doesn't reveal anybody.
If you lie to someone that's like me or like Special Agent Horn, it's a crime. So you have to be truthful. The other exception to this that doesn't necessarily apply directly to you, but if there ever was a retrial in your case, or if there ever was a criminal case, a future criminal case against you, and your lawyer or you said something different or took a position that's different than what you say today, we can then cross-examine you or a witness based upon what you say today. So it's a little bit nuanced, meaning I can't use what you say against you in our case in chief. However, if you were to testify, or if your lawyer called a witness to testify and they said something that is totally different than what you say today, we could then cross-examine you or the witness and say, hey, do you remember when we met with Miss Maxwell back in July of 2025? She told us, and then say what she said. Okay?
I understand.
Okay. Other than that, I know you didn't have a lot of time this morning to meet with Mr. Marcus, but did you have a chance to go over this briefly with him?
I did.
Okay. All right. So I've already signed it, as has Special Agent Horn, and Mr. Marcus signed it as well. So you got a pen? Please sign it right where it says clients. Yep. And I will provide a copy of this to your lawyer so you guys have it. Okay. Thank you. So, Ms. Maxwell, about a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago,
You see the light blinking on there? On the Sony. Yeah, there it is.
Okay, we're just confirming that it works, and it does. Ms. Maxwell, I guess about a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, Mr. Marcus reached out to me and said that you wanted to speak with somebody from the government about not only your case, but about everything that's been in the media and that's been publicized about Mr. Epstein in your case.
That is true, and I did speak to him, and I did ask him did tell him that I was very keen to talk to anyone, because no one from the government at any time ever since the inception of the case, so dating back to the early 2000s, has ever spoken to me, and indeed I believe ever reached out to me at any time to even speak to me, and that includes up to when I was indicted and prosecuted. I believe that, or I understand, I should say rather, that my attorneys at the time did tell the government that I wanted to speak to them because I was very keen to meet with anyone so that I could tell or have them ask me any question. I've never had any problem to speak to anybody, and I offered myself, and I kept asking if they would meet with me so that I could talk to them, and for whatever reason, that was not happening.
Okay. I have questions that I want to ask you, but I'm not, if there's a question that I'm not asking that you think should be asked, I invite you to volunteer. Same thing goes to your lawyers. Just to start a little bit, very briefly, can you talk about when you first met Mr. Epstein, I know that goes back a while, and just very generally talk about your relationship with Mr. Epstein from the time you met him all the way up until his death.
I met Mr. Epstein in 1991. I'd never heard of him or met him before, and no one in my family had ever either. My father never knew him, and I'll explain why that is the case.
Where did you meet him?
I had a girlfriend who I'd moved to America.
Ben Brown been on YouTube for 4 years, man. Wow, you've been around for a while, I see.
America briefly I'd moved to America in 1990.
I don't even use YouTube, and my profile is like 2013.
Okay.
Moved. That's a big word. I'd come to visit America in 1990. I had been running my own company up until that time, which was a company called Maxwell's Corporate Gifts. And I had also been working for my father at the time. I'd had multiple jobs with him. I was, in 1990, I was working with a new company of his, a new newspaper that he was launching called The European. And I was in charge of launching a magazine to go with the European. And I was traveling at that time.
It is deranged to think that Ghislaine Maxwell is not a pedophile because she's been convicted. Her conviction basically puts that out there. And so spot on, Richard, spot on, But that's the Trumpster's new thing. The Trumpster's new line is that she was somehow, she was used. She's the fall guy for the bigger conspiracy. And of course, Trump isn't a part of it, and she can guarantee you that.
From England to America because my father was looking to, he'd also bought...
Look, she's not even American. She's not even American. I mean, Elon Musk is a naturalized American. I mean, it's crazy to think that these two knew each other. They knew each other back then. And for some reason, people, give him the benefit of the doubt with that. It's not a conspiracy. It's just by chance. All of these people were in pictures with each other back when, and they knew nothing about what was about to come or anything about it at all. It just all, it's all a Democrat hoax is essentially what they're calling it now. And I don't know what to say, but, that's what people are willing to accept.
Millen, the publishing house, and he had purchased the New York Daily News. And it's true to say that my father always wanted me to come back full-time and work for him, but that's a much longer story. I don't think we need to go into it this time. So, but I was always working with him. Well, there was no escaping, as it were, to work for him. So, in 1990...
What is this, autobiography? They just asked for her whole biography. Just paint a picture. Give everybody a picture of who you are. And, before we get to any question that's pertinent to what people want to know.
I had come over to New York to help look at...
This is her background on how she met Trump, y'all.
Some of that. She was having some advertising issues with the New York Daily News, and in fact, I may have met Donald Trump at that time because my father was friendly with him and liked him very much, and I think it should be said that he also very much liked Ivan.
Facts, Portuguese facts. I mean, come on. They had plenty of time to put this together. I'll put it to you this way: if they were to fabricate it they had plenty of time to fabricate, no question. And they're giving the doubt all the way. The MAGA people, they just give them the doubt. If they needed another month to put this shit together, MAGA people would have been like, all right, cool, no problem.
Because she was also from Czechoslovakia, where my dad was from. So I don't remember if I did meet him or not in 1990 with my dad, but I knew that's how I knew about then Mr. Trump.
And this was
basically, they don't want to tell you that this is a Russian honeypot. They, yeah, I don't know, but it seems like that to me. Like they're not going to come out. They're going to keep the information because if you put out the Epstein files, you will come to find out it's a Russian honeypot, and that yes, the richest man on earth, Elon Musk, might know a little bit something about honeypots because who knows, right? I mean, he's in this picture. He's in this picture with Ghislaine Maxwell. What year is this picture? When is this picture? Is this before the arrest of Epstein or after? Did he know her? Did he know anything about it? Or is it just a pure coincidence? The richest man on earth has a picture with her. She's in jail. And Trump's about to pardon her, and Elon Musk had access to the treasury. Is all that a coincidence? You tell me, maggots.
Before you met.
This is before I met Mr.
Epstein.
Yes.
Okay. Right.
So I was already going backwards and forwards in America, and then in April of 1991, I came to New York. I can't remember for what reason, what business reason, but there was a business reason, something to do with my dad at that time. And a girlfriend of mine, an American, told me I'd broken up with I'd been engaged, getting with a very long-term boyfriend, and we'd broken up. And she said, well, I've got, as your girlfriends do, I've got a guy for you to meet. And I was like, who is it? And she goes...
She sounds so sweet. This is the man who they say committed suicide in jail, Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein, this was his partner. She sounds so innocent and so sweet. And of course, people are going to give her the benefit of the doubt because, hey, you are not free.
He's been dating my sister. You'll love him. He's looking for a wife. I'm edging towards 30. I don't need to tell you guys that's a very important moment for a girl to think about important things. Sure, I'd be happy to meet him. And so sometime in 1991, we're in 1991, I met him at his offices on Madison Avenue. And I think the most memorable thing I can think about that is he was wearing a tie, which he didn't often do, and it had a giant tomato ketchup stain on it. So I was like, wow, okay. And that was how we met.
Was your meeting at his office for you to meet him just personally, or were you there for work-related reasons?
No, I knew nothing about him. Okay. He just invited me to come and have tea at him. And I was like, tea, that's English, okay. But what was unusual was in his offices. So I went to his offices and we met. And I found him very engaging, and that was that.
So that's how you meet him. So, and again, I don't want to spend a lot of time, on this particular issue, but what happened with your relationship over the years from the time you meet him in 1991 up until the time he passed away? Just give the highlights.
Okay, so I was looking for real estate for my dad to buy some, and Epstein told me that he was also looking to move from his apartment, and would I help him? And I was sure, I'm looking already, so I could look for him. So that's how it started. And then in 1991, my father passed away, and I returned to New York after that, originally to come back and help with the family businesses, which was and then the debacle of my father's passing hit the family, and we lost all our businesses, and my family thought that it would be best if I stayed in America because of the intensity of the press and the drama surrounding my father's death in England, so I stayed, and Epstein said, well, you can keep helping me, you can help me find the house, and you can decorate the house, and it gave me something to do.
Were you in a romantic relationship with him at this point, or just friends?
Just friends.
And while we're just, with respect to your father, there have been multiple questions about whether he worked for any intelligence agency. Do you have any knowledge about that?
I think, well, certainly my father had a background in intelligence because he was, I believe he did in the Second World War. He was a British intelligence officer. I think that my sort of belief is that once you've been an intelligence officer, you're kind of always, it doesn't mean that you're formally employed. So I don't think my dad in any formal sense was employed by any agency, but when you are a very significant businessman and politician, as my father was, you meet with people all over the time.
You get friends like Trump, and they're going to pardon you.
And you, I guess, trade business or ideas. I think if that would fall under that definition, that's how I would think of it. Now, he certainly, I have no formal knowledge of anything specifically that he did in that thing. But
now, this is the crazy thing. Trump's known Epstein for what? Decades, 30 something, he's known him the whole time that he was up to this behavior. Apparently, it appears is so, right? Now, now Trump becomes president, right? In his first term, and then he actually prosecutes Epstein. So he knows Epstein better than anybody else. Why would you prosecute him if there's nothing there? Right? That doesn't make any sense. The guy gets arrested, ends up dead in New York in the pen. Right? Okay, so Trump also knows her. Right? Why is it that he wouldn't why does this all have to wait till now to come out? You see, that's the strange part. And there's no reason why this couldn't have come out earlier if it's going to come out this way. If it's just going to come out that she knows nothing and Trump is a good guy, then, okay, she could have said that a long time ago. Trump could have actually gotten that from her. So what is it about now? And it's so obvious what it is. It's because Trump didn't believe any of that stuff. He actually, this is so crazy, but Trump used the Epstein files. He gaslighted. They gaslighted everyone. They were going after the Epstein files. They already knew. Trump already knows what's in the stuff. Pam Bondi already knows what's in the stuff. They already knew. The entire group knows. And now they don't want anyone else to know.
If you're asking me if I thought that he did help people, the answer would be yes, I do.
Did your father and Mr. Epstein have a business relationship over the years? I know we're maybe jumping around a little bit.
They never met. So,
as far as you know, they never even met?
No,
Or you know they never met?
I know they never met.
Well, how do you know they never met?
Thank you. Okay. Just categorically, no, they never met. Well, because after, in 1991, before my father died, he asked me if I'd met anybody interesting or whatever, because I was still trying not to be sucked back into the family business. And I told him that I had met Mr. Epstein, and the reason why I shared that I'd met Mr. Epstein because I believed at that time that Epstein worked for Bear Stearns, and Bear Stearns was one of our banks. And I knew that my father was friendly with both Jimmy Kane and with Ace Greenberg. So my dad was actually in New York, I think. I don't think I had this conversation on the phone, but I honestly been talking 30 years ago, so I'm not sure. But maybe I told him this verbatim because I have I know that what my dad did, whether I saw it or whether he did it and told me later, I don't remember. But he called both Jimmy Kane and Ace Greenberg to ask what sort of guy he was and was he even allowed to, because
they never met.
He didn't even know
but
who he was.
They knew some of the same people, it sounds like, or certainly the Bear Stearns connection was something that you knew that they had.
No, well, he never had a connection with Epstein. He had a connection with the bank. I mean, Epstein, I'd never heard of him or knew of him before, and I certainly, if my dad had known him, right, when I said this is who he was, he didn't know who he was. So he rang Ace and he rang Jimmy to ask if it was okay that I even knew him. And I just want to explain briefly why my father would even do such a thing. I've had some interesting things that have happened in my life, and one of them was to be found on an IRA kidnap and murder list.
What?
And so after that happened, well, there were other...
Let me hear that. I'm going to hear that one more time.
Related. I'm not going to bore you with all the horrible things in that vein, but if you want the details, of course, I can. But after that happened, my father wanted to put a lot of protection on me, obviously, and I declined on the grounds. I've had some interesting things that have happened in my life, and one of them was to be found on an IRA kidnap and murder list. Interesting things that have happened in my life, and one of them was to be found on an IRA kidnap and murder list.
Oh, she said one of them was to be on an IRA kidnap and murder list. But again, who knows if any of this is real? All of this is immaterial, really. This is what she's saying just because they asked, how did she meet Epstein? So she's saying all of this stuff.
And so after that happened, well, there were other related. I'm not going to bore you with all the horrible things in that vein, but if you want the details, of course, I can. But after that happened, my father wanted to put a lot of protection on me, obviously, and I declined on the grounds that that would be a very life-restricting event. You're all in law enforcement, I know you understand this. And so he had told me that I would be taking my life in my own hands and whatever. And so I think after that event and several others where I had stalkers and all that thing that one has, he was always quite protective of me. And so if I met somebody, he would try and verify that they weren't.
Hey, Bev, this is the Ghislaine Maxwell interview with the second in the DOJ.
Gonna do anything hideous, and so in case you thought it was weird that he would call Jimmy and Ace, you may think it is, but from my perspective, he was just because he was concerned I was in America alone, and he had an opportunity to verify who this person was. And so I don't know if I was in the room with him, I don't recall, but I know that at some point my father told me, he's fine, you can see him.
Yeah.
He's safe.
Okay.
Well, okay.
So we might come back and touch a little bit more on that at some point.
Everybody, hit the like button.
That's right, I just wanted to...
Click the like button for me.
Oh, that's helpful, thank you. So, okay, so you're now in the 90s and you're friends with Mr. Epstein, your house, decorating the house or the apartment. What happens with your relationship again? I know we're talking about a 35-year time period or whatever, but to the extent you can kind of, at a very high level, talk about it.
Listen, I think just full disclosure is the best way to go at this point.
Yeah.
So in 1992...
Full disclosure is the best way to go at this point. But the American people will not get anywhere close to full disclosure. You're going to get a release where likely over 100 names connected to some actual activity is going to be concerning activity is going to be covered up. And they're going to do it through trying to say that insist that these are just innocent people. They're not going to try to describe to you the events that they're alleged to be involved with. They're not going to show those things. They're just going to say, this is what we have and we're blocking it. And then Trump is going to pardon her. And then he's going to step down and J.D. Vance is going to take over. That's their move. I told y'all that weeks ago. And it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And would that be any worse than what's already going on? No. But you know, Trump is old as hell. And you know, Trump is doing very, very bad. Of course, when you have a cult, you can't say that the leader is sick because that doesn't work for the cult. You know, the leaders have to be like iron steel, you know. And so Trump is still in iron steel mode in terms of the propaganda. But in reality, the man is on his last leg for real.
I slept with him one time.
But all these people knew that going in. They all knew Trump was old going in. They've already factored that in. That's part of their plan. That they wanted Trump to be old. That's perfect. You see?
And I was like, oh, that's it. We're going to be dating. Because that's how I thought. And I kind of thought of myself in that moment, like, because I felt if you slept with someone, you were then dating them. Yeah. That's the world I came from. But that really was, well, that's how I thought. But we didn't sleep together again for, I don't know, really a significant period of time. And when I say
years or?
I don't know if it was a year. That feels long, but maybe 9 months. I mean, a long time.
Okay.
I just want to go back. So I had found a house for him to rent in New York because he had asked me. I'd been looking for my father, and I found one, which was a former Iranian embassy. I think it belonged to the Iranians or the Iraqis, someone.
Okay.
And I didn't know that he had any money, really, and it was, I want to say it was $12,000 a month, which to me seemed like a fortune. And I said to myself, I found this house, but I don't think you can afford it. And he was like, it's ridiculous, of course I can afford it, and he rented it. And that house came with, it was a State Department house, because it was, I think there was under sector station, or whatever it was. And I put it back together, but there were certain rules you couldn't paint, because it had to go back, when you gave it back to the country then. So he had this house, and I had moved into a 10-foot by 10-foot apartment because all of our stuff had been either lost or frozen or whatever. So he became, in this moment of my life, really, because I was like, everything was, it felt very similar to this moment, if that makes any sense. Anyway, so, but I had no key to his house, I had no free access to his house, and in the entire time that he lived there, which was, I believe, until the beginning of 1996, I never slept a single night in that house, ever, not once.
So she's saying she never slept a single night for a long period of time. I don't know what this, I'm curious, like, they're apparently trying to find out what her relationship was like with Epstein after she met him. How did they grow? This kind of thing. At this point, people just want to see the files. There's nothing she could say at all that would be informative, and definitely not about Trump. But there's nothing she could say. I mean, that's not already in the files, you know. This is what I don't really get about MAGA people, because the MAGA people are okay with it now. I don't know if y'all heard, but MAGA people, the official line is that it's all, she was a patsy in the whole thing. That's their official line, that she actually wasn't dealing with these girls herself. That's their official line. You know, from one day to the next, they switched to that, right? So they actually don't even want to see the files anymore. They don't want to see the Epstein files. They are happy only with talking about what they think could be in there, but they're okay with not seeing the Epstein files at all.
Okay, so you said a minute ago that that you had slept with him on one occasion, and at the time you remember thinking, that this meant.
No, this is things worth knowing. This is a real photo of Elon Musk and Ghislaine Maxwell, like something like decades ago. This is some time ago. You see, maybe not 2 decades ago, but this is before she was obviously detained. And this is, I believe this is after Jeffrey Epstein. No, not after, but after the Florida thing. After the Florida arrest, this is sometime after that. This is not before. I don't believe so.
You were in a relationship, but then it didn't. You really were not in that type of relationship.
Well,
did that change over between 91 and 92 or whatever, and years forward?
So I did travel with him a lot.
Okay.
So I would go to his houses in Palm Beach. He only had that house actually no, that's not true. He had the house in Palm Beach, and he had a house in Ohio.
In where?
Ohio.
Okay.
And he had the house in Ohio because of his business relationship with Mr. Wexner. And he had and I had to go and decorate and put that house together. When we traveled together, we stayed in the same bed, but not in. But I didn't.
Go ahead. It's okay. Talk.
The photo with Maxwell and Ghislaine, Elon, right? That was in 2014 at a Vanity Fair event. So this is after Jeffrey Epstein had already been, charged, and then they gave him the slap on the wrist and all of that. So this is quite some time after that.
So you stayed. So when you would travel with him to his houses in Palm Beach, Ohio, or even just traveling, if it was just traveling with him, you would.
Although everybody has to understand, all the victims, the majority, many victims point to her as either being a person who molested them or a person who who orchestrated events, who guided them, who told them what to do, these kind of things. And there's some victims that are out there that have made public statements about it. They've described the acts, what she was telling them to do, and the things she participated in, this kind of stuff. So, but this lady's about to get a pardon from Trump.
Stay in the same bed, so sleep in the same bed with him.
Yes.
Okay.
Like, Trump does not believe any of the victims. According to Trump, all the victims are liars, basically. He doesn't say that. People never ask him about that. Isn't that also funny how the media doesn't every day ask him, hey, Trump, do you have any words for the alleged victims of Epstein? What about the ones that have accused you? Any thoughts? What do you think about Ghislaine Maxwell? Like, there's no media around him because he already got rid of the media that would ask him. People know when they get around him that you can't really ask him these things. That's the one thing you can't ask Trump. And that's why you never hear them ask, because they would be expelled. They would be expelled instantly.
Epstein told me that he had a heart condition.
A what?
Heart condition.
Heart condition, okay.
Which meant that he didn't have intercourse a lot. Which suited me fine, because I actually do have a medical condition, which precludes me having a lot of intercourse.
So what was your understanding of his heart condition and why that prevented him from having intercourse regularly?
I don't know. I mean, he liked other forms of sexual activity.
Well, let's come back. We're going to obviously spend a lot of time on the actual conduct he was accused of, so we'll come back to that. So pick up where you were talking about you traveling around with him. He rented the New York former Iranian house.
Iranian, there you go, yeah.
Until around 96. That time, I believe you said that he was basically your life, like you were with him pretty regularly.
Well, no. Okay. So I never was with him regularly. That is one of those misnomers. I mean, at the beginning I did see more of him, but I worked in his office. So I would go to the office and I would see him. And I would count in my head when I would see him, I would count that that'd be a day that I would see him. But I never ever stayed with him. I believe, certainly until 93 or 94, what I didn't know was that I think he was still with his actual girlfriend, who was Eva Anderson, who became Eva Dubin. They had been together, my understanding, I think about 10 years. I'm not sure, but that's what I think, 10 years. And I had understood from my girlfriend initially that they weren't together, and Epstein himself had told me that they were not together, but I don't think that was true. In fact, I know it's not true. So they were still together up until I think 94, when at some point in that period of time Eva met Glenn Dubin and they got married. I think in 94, I don't remember when they got married. But she was his best friend and his everything. He told me that he always wished that he had married her and had a child with her. And I know that she was family for him for his whole life. And I think even, I'm not sure this is true, but you guys will know if this is true or not, when he came back from Paris and you arrested him, I don't know if Eva was on the plane.
No, this is not her grand jury testimony. No. That's not released. This is her interview with the number 2 of the DOJ. This is the interviews that happened a month ago that they now put out on and transcribed, and also put out the audio recordings. Yeah. I mean, they claim that this is everything. As far as that interview.
Read it in the discovery that I received, or I saw it somewhere. But even if she wasn't on the plane, there must have been some email communication where she was in Paris at the same time and going to fly back. One or the other. I don't know which one is the correct version of that. But so they were still obviously very close and remained throughout the entire fact. He saw her love. And so I also know now, which I didn't know at the time, was that he saw lots of other women. And I know that now because I can see it from the flight logs, and I know it now because I can see from the emails.
So you know from the case what happened?
Yes, I didn't know
that along the way.
Contemporaneously, I absolutely didn't know.
So, and we're going to spend time on everything you're talking about, but just to kind of close out big picture your relationship. So we're now in the late 90s. Continue on with, again, staying high level to the extent you can about your relationship with him.
So my responsibilities increased with each acquisition that he had and each new project. So I believe the first thing that he purchased after was the ranch in New Mexico.
Okay.
And so what he had tasked me with up until that, I think that was purchased in 94, if I'm right. So he had tasked me, one of the things that we did was visit, in my mind I say every state, but it wouldn't have been every state, but many states, to go look at real estate and property. And so I know we went to Montana, I know we went to Utah, and it was to go look at real estate. It was fun, to be honest. And then I arranged for us to go to New Mexico, and he just loved New Mexico. And then I don't remember how the ranch happened. I don't remember that now. It's lost. And then he ended up buying the ranch, and I think if I'm right, it came from the kings who may have been the governor, but bought the ranch, and then I had to deal with that. And dealing with that was extensive. I mean, the way that I thought of myself, or the way that I think is the best way to explain how I view my.
You know, she's making a claim that that she's talking about he just bought a ranch, and so far in the 90s, what did she say, 94? And so far you don't hear her mention anything about any girls, right? But in reality, he's known. I mean, in the real Epstein files, they place him at being like accused very early. You know, like in the hold on, what does it say? Mid 70s, 80s, early 80s allegations. Some accusers, including Maria Farmer, allege abuse or grooming behavior going back as early as 1970s and 1980s when Epstein was working as a teacher, right? So in the 1990s, there was a clear escalation, and she's talking about 1994, right? So multiple victims testified that Epstein began recruiting and abusing underage girls as early as 1990s, often through people like Ghislaine Maxwell, right? So she's making it sound like her relationship was long in the beginning. It's extended, but it wasn't active. Like she kind of made it sound like it's progressed slowly, or, you know, and in 94, he's buying a house. You haven't heard any mention of a victim yet, you know, and that's very strange. So let's listen to some more of this. Sorry about stopping it, but I just wanted to make that note.
Role was as a general manager, because each property to me was like a hotel. So the ranch was very challenging, because not only that, but it had BLM land. So to maintain your BLM, you had to have cattle. And I love animals, and so the first thing, horses. And so I wanted it, if you're going to have a ranch, I like authenticity. So I don't think you should have a ranch if you're not going to have the things that make it special.
So were you paid by him along the way?
So I
time?
became salaried at some point. My memory is that I got paid $25,000 a year to begin with. That's my memory. I may be wrong. And then with each, as it became more obvious, because I kept thinking I was going to go home being England. And but it.
Did you
So she's trying to paint herself, it sounds like, as a victim, as a person that got basically what do they call it? What's the term that they use when they want to soften people up? Groom, right? She's trying to make it sound like she's getting groomed like Epstein. That's what it sounds like to me, anyway.
Actually, you were not relying on him. The $25,000 or whatever amount you were paid, were you relying on that money to live and his generosity to live, or did you have your own money?
So there's a.
And again, I want to just make sure we're talking about that, like keeping it between like the late 90s, you know, maybe I guess into a little of the 2000s.
I just want to hit something on the head right now. There's a tremendous amount of reporting that said that I had a trust fund. Thank you. A trust fund. I have never had a trust fund at any time.
So how did you live? Did you live with I mean, $25,000 is not enough to live on.
No. So I had, during this period of time, the the Serious Fraud Squad had come to see me in relation to my father's passing, and to establish whether I had been involved in any way with his business or with any shenanigans. I think I've told the story many times, so I don't know if it's now somewhat hypocritical, but I'll tell you what my memory is. So I received a letter from them that said, go about my business.
Notice how she didn't answer the question. The guy asked her, did she get paid? And she's like now gone and switched it all to like something else.
And my memory may be hypocritical. There's a PS that said, I used Snow White's cousin. I had nothing. I was never involved in any of his business, whatever. So I was free. And
but you're, you know, obviously your father and your family had a lot of businesses. Is it because the money whatever money or whatever equity was in the businesses just stayed with your other family members?
No, there was no money. So my father was never attached to money. He was born a peasant, a real one. Dirt floor, no shoes, no clothes. Some clothes, but not, sorry, I don't mean to say, and nothing. And he was never into that. I mean, there were things that he had, his extravagances. He loved his boat and his plane, so obviously you need money for that, but there was nothing else. And there was not a single penny that came to any of us at any time, ever.
Okay, so when you're talking about your life with Mr. Epstein in the 90s, you're very different financially. You're very different financially positioned than he is. Meaning, absolutely, he's giving you money. He's paying for when you fly. He, I assume, absolutely, pays for your flights.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So I interrupted you when you were saying how you were functioning as general manager. You helped with the New Mexico.
But look at this is the thing. I don't understand why they even need to ask her these questions. Why are they trying to establish this? I don't get it, because the woman has already been convicted. They already have information from the FBI. So what are they trying to imply now? That are they literally trying to imply that the whole thing was just a Democratic hoax? Is that where this is really going to turn up, go to? That this is all a Democratic hoax? Because you would have to believe all the girls talking about it were also part of a hoax. And to me, that sounds so far-fetched. So far-fetched. Like, I'm sorry. For me, that is just the height of ridiculousness. But it sounds like they're going down that path, because think about it. How many minutes? This is 30 minutes into an interview. This is part 2, day 1, part 2, right? So they're into part 2. So it's not too much time left. But damn, this is weird. Like, they spent all this time on this anyway.
Mexico Ranch. So did your role with him continue like that for many years, or for how long?
So I continued in 2000. Well, by 1999, our relationship had foundered.
Why?
Let me hear that again.
Why?
By 1999.
So 1999, she's saying their relationship. So that she's saying that she's only so that means 94 to 95, 95 to 90. She's saying she was only around him for 4 years, basically.
Our relationship had foundered.
Why?
Well, 2 reasons. We were never sleeping together again, so we stopped having sexual relations in 1999. Not full sex, sorry.
So they're talking about still only their personal relationship. This is like 30-something minutes in.
To be clear, didn't mean that we didn't still share a bedroom sometimes or whatever. He had another girlfriend.
He had what?
Other girlfriends. I definitively knew that it was over after 9/11, actually, because we were both from New York. And I don't know, were you in New York? 9/11. I mean, 9/11's. And it was a scary time if you were in New York. You didn't know. I didn't know. Nobody knew what was going on. And he was in 71st Street and I was in 65th Street, my house. And he wouldn't see me at all. Asked me, his mum, who I'm very close to, who was in the hospital at Lenox Hill, just asked me to look after her. And then I knew, as anyone did at that time, if you're not going to be there for someone in 9/11, you're never going to be there. So for me, that was the line in the sand. And he had another English girlfriend, actually, from 2000.
Are you, though, still on his... Are you still being paid by him at this point?
Yes.
Okay, so go ahead. So what at that point when you say you realized kind of...
Well, I mean, I'm talking about I had wanted to get married and have children. And Epstein had encouraged me to believe that would... I don't know about them. Certainly by the late 90s, I knew the marriage part was never going to happen. I had believed that maybe in 96, 97, 98 maybe, but then I realized it wasn't that. But I did think that we might have a child, which is what I had really wanted. I realized...
So what happens between 2001 and then 2019 with your relationship with him?
So,
give or take 2001.
So we stopped having physicality. I mean, that doesn't mean we weren't friends. I certainly did stay sometimes in his room on friends with benefits, if you will, just not sex.
Okay.
Sorry, just and I started dating.
Okay.
And I met someone that I fell very much in love with in 2003. His name was Ted Waite. Ted Waite, you may know as the founder of Gateway, the computers.
The founder of what?
Gateway. Known as the founder of Gateway.
Founder of Gateway?
As the founder of Gateway, the computers. And we had an amazing relationship that went on until 2010, I think, and I was with Ted from that time.
Did you meet him through Mr. Epstein?
No, well, indirectly, I suppose you could say. So. No, they never met. I was at a dinner where I met Ted, but it wasn't. I was with President Clinton. President Clinton was my friend, not Epstein's friend. And Epstein had flown him.
Okay, it is Gateway Computers. It's Ted Waite. Right, okay.
And there was a dinner, and Ted came to the dinner. So I guess indirectly through Mr. Epstein, because it was his plane, but I'd have been there anyway without him. Was
Epstein on the plane when you guys flew?
On that trip, yes. Yes. Yes.
So when you say the dinner was where?
Hong Kong.
Okay. And so you had flown over with... So who was on the plane for that trip? I don't mean everybody, but you said... So Mr. Epstein was on the plane?
Yes.
You were on the plane?
Yes.
Who else? That you can remember. I'm not... you only know what you remember.
Was President Clinton on the plane?
Clinton. He would have had his guy, Doug Vance. Maybe Jason Cooper. Maybe Trouble the Two.
And so why? So how do you meet? Why do you say that's when you met him, and that you met him through Clinton?
Well, it was I don't think Ted would have been there had it not been It was a President Clinton dinner, and Ted came to be with President Clinton, not to be with Mr. Epstein. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's why I say that.
Okay, so so in the time that you're dating, that you're with him to 2009, are you still working for Mr. Epstein during that time?
It'd be true to say that Jeffrey tried very hard, Mr. Epstein tried very hard to keep me to working for him, because this is a complex operation. I'm not talking about anything untoward, just the sheer size of the projects. I'm talking the construction projects, the houses, the staff. It's a really significant job. And I ran all the properties, the staff in the properties, the management of the properties, and all the construction. And we're talking tens of millions of dollars. The island alone I can't remember what the budget was for the construction on any given year. It's gone, but these are very significant projects, and so that was what I did, and I managed the budgets. Well, I didn't manage the budgets, I oversaw the budget, so I would just make sure that if you said you bought an air conditioning plant, I saw an air conditioning plant, and I could call the island manager, did you receive the carrier, whatever, you know.
When did Mr. Epstein purchase the island?
I want to say 96 or 97, something like that.
Okay, so we're going to come back and spend more time on the money with respect to Mr. Epstein and his wealth.
Exactly, things worth knowing. It sounds like that to me too. Like it's all basically warming people up step by step for the inevitable pardon. And they need some material to assist in that process. The story can't just remain like what it was before about her. The story of the victims describe of Ghislaine Maxwell, they don't want that to be the last thing people hear about her. So it's almost like softening her up, making her sound like she was also seduced, trying to throw a little bit of gray area out there so that when Trump pardons her, it can, they can force the belief on people. They can, basically, sadly enough, but that's people's brains are mush. So, I mean, people will go. I'm going to tell you, you see how far people have gone along with this shit already, right? Why wouldn't they go for one more manipulation game?
But just so we can finish this. So in 2009, you ended your relationship with Ted?
2009, 2010.
Okay.
I can't remember if it was 10.
Okay. So in that time period, what happens next as far as your relationship with Mr. Epstein?
I don't have one with him.
You don't have one with him, like, you don't see him, or it's just a different relationship?
I maybe saw him once or twice, or maybe even 3 times. I certainly went to his house once, for sure. Maybe twice. But I was not seeing him. The only time that I was in touch with him was when the things happened, like things, in the press that affected me, or when the CVRA case was filed and there was all that rubbish that went out, because I needed information, because I didn't know anything about what was happening, and I needed his help. To understand, doesn't maybe sound right. Rephrase that. I don't mean his help. I meant to have answers so that I had an ability to defend myself. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking anything.
So when does that relationship change? So you're working, you talked about when the physical relationship stopped, and then you're still working for him or with him, managing his properties and serving as like a general manager. You then start your own relationship with another individual with Ted from 2003 till 2009 or 10. At what point in that whole period is there like more of a break where you're no longer acting as his general manager?
I wanted to have a full break when I started dating Ted, and he was clever. I suppose it would be true to say that I sort of viewed Mr. Epstein at that point as sort of family, if you will, like someone I could rely on. And I should have had more confidence in myself, I can see that now, but at the time, given everything that had happened in my life, I thought that it would, and I saw how he was with other people like Eva, who seemed to be very comfortable staying there. I thought this would be, and he always said I was like family, so he worked hard to maintain a relationship with me. He was generous with me. He let me use the plane, for instance, which was very generous. He would check in with my mum. Things that were meaningful to me in that time. And then, it may still not have worked, but that his mother, Paula, had been in a very serious car crash, and she had become sort of like a surrogate mother for me. She
sounds extremely manipulative. Like extremely manipulative. When I listen to it, that's the energy I pick up. Like she is trying her best to sound so innocent. I'm talking about her tone, and how she describes her rationale, her thinking, her activities. But, like this guy was just generous to her. So he was, she doesn't, she makes it almost sound like she just had a normal life, a happy life, and just around a few rich people. And Epstein, was her friend. And, she doesn't even know why they became friends. If you notice that when they talk, there's nothing really binding them. But the truth is that I think when you see the financial records, you will get more out of any conversation. People always do that when they know you don't have access to other information, they could make it sound any way they want it to sound. And right now, people really don't, because people have elected a dictator. So Trump is not going to release these information. He is going to withhold any information that interferes with her coming off like a nice lady, basically. And that is so cruel. That is so sad, because that truly means we live in a world, and we do live in that world, where victims get trafficked. Girls go out there, tell their story, they get death threats, and then it gets covered up by elitists. That's really what's going on, and it looks to me like that's how it's going to go down. Yeah, obviously there's a lot of people out there that's okay with that. Okay.
My mum wasn't there. I could look after her. The way that I would have.
She almost sounds like she's fucking crying right here.
Sorry.
She is. She is crying. Yo, this is extremely manipulative. This is narcissistic. Just to be able to turn on those tears right at the, it's the interview. Got to make everyone know, how sweet I am, that I have feelings. Play on people's emotions, even though I am a monster, but that's what's up with these honeypots, manipulators, people that are devious like that. Yeah.
The way that I would have liked to look after my own mum.
Do you remember how Jeffrey Epstein sounded when he was doing the police interviews? He didn't sound necessarily like the worst guy. He sounded very proper, and how, I guess you could say, although you could tell he was shrewd, he was very shrewd, but not in the most offensive manner or anything like that,
So I became very close to his mother, and she had been in a car crash, and in 2004, I believe, it may have been 5, I don't recall exactly, her health took a serious decline. And Epstein called me and asked me if I could look after her. And by looking after her, that meant organizing her doctors, making sure she had new clothes, making sure her house was clean.
Where was she?
She lived in a retirement establishment.
What the hell does that question have to do with anything? Where was she? What? Okay, I get that they have to go back and find out if she's lying, but she ain't said shit yet anybody wants to know anything about.
Outside of Palm Beach, it's West Palm.
There's not much time left, y'all, in this whole interview. You're 44 minutes into an interview that is about an hour long, and she ain't said shit.
I was going to say something like the Golden Girls, but it's not called that. I just don't remember what it's called. But it was an old age. It was a retirement home, if you will.
Todd, I don't know. We've been going for maybe about an hour now. Do you think, is this a good
Sure.
time?
Yeah. So we'll take a break. Yep.
All right, so we're going to take a break. The time is 10:56. We're continuing the proper interview with Miss Maxwell. The time is 11:07 a.m. on Thursday, July 24th.
All right. So, just picking up where we just stopped. So you have basically a break. Well, not a break. That's the wrong word. But your relationship with Mr. Maxwell, professional and other changes in 2003-4.
Yeah, I mean, over the time that I stay with Ted, the more time I'm with Ted, the more distance I have with him. And then when the arrest, well, let's go back, whatever happened in 2005 and he became arrested in 2006.
So when he's charged and arrested in what we'll call the Florida investigations, that's what you're talking about?
I am.
Okay, go ahead.
So I was not in. Well,
were you part of that investigation?
Absolutely not.
Did law enforcement ever talk to you as part of that? Did you, like, the feds never talked to you? No. The FBI never talked to you?
No. I never even received it.
So you can see, this is basically them trying to clear her. It sounds like it to me, because don't get me wrong, when you ask someone questions, sure, this might be a question that he might be interested in knowing, like, okay, did the feds ask you, so they can portray it as the feds didn't even have her on the radar, like, as in she didn't have nothing to do with it. It wasn't that serious. But there are loads of victims saying, no, she is the main culprit. There's even some of them saying she was worse than Epstein, like saying that without her, Epstein could have not even done this stuff. And, so when you think about those victims, which obviously a person involved with the FBI would have access to, think about that, and then think about this question he's asking. Think the line of questioning. It's almost like he knows these tapes are going to get out, and he knows this information is going to get out. And if you're a prosecutor, would you go down the line of questioning that's going to make her sound like she had nothing to do with it? Would you go down that line of questioning, especially if you know these tapes are going to come out? Folks, I'm sorry, but none of this stuff is a coincidence. It's not a coincidence she's standing next to Elon Musk in this picture. It's not a coincidence he's the richest man on earth. It's not a coincidence that they all are closely involved with Trump, that Trump walked him into the White House. And it's not a coincidence that Putin is somebody on Trump's right hip. This is basically the main group right here: Musk, Putin, and Trump. And of course there's some others around it, but and she is somebody that they're trying to clear up. That's what it looks like to me. And when I think of the richest man on earth, I think like, well, why couldn't you buy a judge? Because apparently U.S. Supreme Court judges don't make that much money. Why wouldn't the richest man on earth be able to just buy one?
Did you receive a subpoena?
No.
Did the state law enforcement ever reach out to you?
No.
As far as you know, did the government, either state or federal, subpoena your bank records or subpoena anything from your financial life during that time, that time?
Not as far as I'm aware. Now, if they did, I don't know it, and I have no idea about that, to be honest, but I'm not aware of it, and I would say no.
The victims of this lady, just to remind people, right? The victims, they said that she was telling them, right, back in that time, that she was telling them that, what was it she was telling them? She was telling them that they own the FBI, they own the DA, and that they own the police. That's what she is reported to have been telling them at that time. And now she's painting a completely different story of herself. But that is something that is known for narcissists to do very well. Like, they can describe themselves in terms no one else would think of that knew them, right?
What a explosive and just kind of earth-shattering
Can y'all hear this?
development this is for so.
Wait a second. Let me go back for a second, 2 seconds.
What a explosive and just kind of earth-shattering development this is for so many victims. My phone has been ringing off the hook all day today. Not just victims, but also from members of law enforcement who either worked on this case or have, followed this case closely, because it is just, it is so unbelievable to them, the timing. It just looks and suggests that there may be some kind of deal made in the last couple of days. And the statement that the Giuffre family said today was so clear. It was shocking to me, actually, how strong it was. They said this smacks of a cover-up. And I think the major thing that all of these victims, members of law enforcement, even just people of the general public who have such an interest in this case, it is the reason that this is so incredible is that it speaks to the very thing that makes the Epstein case such an issue of national importance. And that's the fact that the evidence suggests, laid out that we have learned through lots of testimony, through interviews and other things, that there were different standards of justice for people who had power and means. And that's why this story even has taken on this conspiracy theory level online across the internet, because it has this stickiness, and that point was just underscored in the events today. So I would say the victims and others involved in this case, they are distraught, and they feel that something is very amiss here.
So Shan Wu, you have the timing of this move to a lower security prison. You also have, at a minimum, the unconventional talks between the president's deputy attorney general and a woman who's been convicted and is now serving 20 years for horrible, horrible crimes. And you have attached to that the president's Justice Department's decision not to release files that he long said he would release. So when you add those things together, does that legally seem inappropriate to you?
It does seem inappropriate in this sense in particular, Jim, which is it's utterly in disarray. It's unprofessional. It's not how you would conduct an investigation. There are many situations where someone who is giving valuable information as a cooperator, they may get little perks. They get more phone calls, maybe more access to the computer. There's no indication here that they're getting anything valuable, and one wonders what could possibly be valuable at this point. I mean, her testimony would be so biased, so discredited. Yeah. Not only that, you factor in the idea that the Deputy Attorney General is conducting the interview. It's really unheard of. Why not have the agents who worked on the case, the prosecutors who really know the case, see if there's something else that can be valuable? This simply sounds like they're playing some FaceTime to her. We'll have the Deputy AG come in who never does interviews like this. And then when you add in the timing, we're going to give you a nicer, cushier kind of place to be in jail. It seems like they want to entice her into doing something that's helpful to them, but really there can't be anything of substance that's of value coming from her at this point.
Sarah, of course, many of the president's supporters, and at times the president himself, promised that they were going to be transparent where previous administrations were not, that they were finally going to release all the files that showed how far and wide Epstein's and Maxwell's crimes went. Now you have the president reversing that, it seems. And I wonder, do family members, victims, friends, relatives, etc., look at this as a betrayal?
Absolutely. I mean, I think everyone was willing to, on a bipartisan basis, of course, remember, there are over 1,000 Epstein victims. So this is a really wide group. And that's just that we know of, that the Justice Department has acknowledged. It is likely many times that. But I think it's important that this is, these victims viewed this not as a political football, which this has kind of become in recent weeks. For them, this is about accountability and justice. And that's important for two reasons. One, Epstein, we know through our reporting and all of the evidence that has been presented in court as well as civil litigation, that this was an extensive sex trafficking operation that involved a lot of people, including some mandatory reporters, doctors, other people that would have been required to speak out about what was happening. And so those people have not yet been held accountable in any meaningful way. And secondly, all of the victims, and especially Virginia, who, you know, I was in touch with right up until she died, it was so important to her that what came out of this horrific experience was changes in legislation, changes in rules about how law enforcement talks to victims, that they have to be informed before certain things happen. None of the victims today have been informed about the facts that Maxwell was moved. And that, you know, is another just kind of slap in the face. It's also, I think, really important. There's an element of re-traumatization here. Because one of the things that Maxwell in particular did so effectively is she would taunt these victims, and she would say, or people that would be in a position to know things, and she would say, you can't do anything because we own the police. We own the FBI. We own the district attorney's office. And so that had a really chilling effect on people. Re-traumatization here. Because one of the things that Maxwell in particular did so effectively is she would taunt these victims, and she would say, or people that would be in a position to know things, and she would say, you can't do anything because we own the police. We own the FBI. We own the district attorney's office here. Because one of the things that Maxwell in particular did so effectively is she would taunt these victims, and she would say, or people that would be in a position to know things, and she would say, you can't do anything because we own the police. We own the FBI. We own the district attorney's office. And so that had a really chilling effect on people that may have been.
And now she's describing herself like this.
But maybe you guys do things that I don't know.
So how did you learn of that case? When Mr. Epstein was arrested, or did you know that something was happening before then?
The first thing I knew was he had told me he was deciding to redecorate the house in Palm Beach. Didn't surprise me. It was like a rolling situation.
But by that time, are you like, he tells you because he wants your help, or had your relationship changed by this time where you were no longer kind of acting as his general manager?
No, I was still around. I wasn't gone. I was with Ted. I was traveling. I wasn't daily.
And notice how she leans onto Ted so much, this guy Ted Weiss. Like, it's very convenient. It's just, you know, I was with him, but can you corroborate any of it? Nope.
Asked me where he was in any given time. I'm not sure I would have known then. I mean, it was, I felt like, I suppose the relationship moved into sort of like a long-term friend, family, you know, like I felt he had with Eva, if I'm honest.
Yeah, okay. So he says to you he's going to redecorate the Palm Beach house.
He asked me specifically which decorator he thinks he should use, because I had a lot of contacts with decorators, and he was not very good with people, and he was useless at maintaining relationships with people who worked for him. I'm not. So, anyway, so I recommended.
You hear that? Now she's also cleared herself of having relationships with other people that he knows. That's really weird.
I think I recommended. He was useless at maintaining relationships with people who worked for him. I'm not. So. He asked me specifically which decorator he thinks he should use, because I had a lot of contacts with decorators, and he was not very good with people, and he was useless at maintaining relationships with people who worked for him. I'm not. So, anyway, so I recommended. I think I recommended. I can't be 100% sure because it's been a long time, but I think I recommended Mark Zeff at that time.
Who?
Mark Zeff,
okay.
I believe. And I don't know why. I don't remember. That's all lost to time. But anyway, at some point, I think his mother had died now. I can't remember the timing of all of that either.
Okay.
But I ended up in Palm Beach, and he had asked me to come and look at the swatches or whatever he was doing, because they had laid it all out over the house and various things.
You know, Eric, I don't think people are ready don't think people are ready for what's coming. You know, I think a lot of people, they've gotten seduced, like slowly. You know, because I guess that's what the slow walking is designed to do, to kind of seduce people. And groom people. I mean, the American population, I keep saying it, they didn't resolve the issue back then. The Florida court, and now the entire United States of America is their victims. And now everybody's being groomed for something bigger to come. I'm telling you, man, they've massaged their brains. They've gotten out, you know, they got Fox out there, you know, who's going to recite this Ghislaine Maxwell is innocent story pretty much, and others. Then they got the internet with the trolls that's going to recite it. And then you have Trump and them using the military to enforce it physically on the street, right? In other words, if you don't go along with this narrative, you are going to be the problem. You know, that's where they're going with this, and they're willing to use physical force, obviously, to at least intimidate people into cooperating and just going on with something so crazy. I mean, yeah. But in any case, let's hear some more. It's some more left, like 30 minutes more.
I think he'd ask for my opinion. That's my memory of this. It may also be that Ted and I were going to Palm Beach because Ted had a golf match or something. There was a reason I was in Palm Beach. It wasn't solely... maybe that's not true either. I don't know. So
Okay.
There's sometimes I went to Palm Beach because Ted was there. I don't know if that's part of that time or not. Or Ted went there and left me. I don't know. Something. Anyway, I was there. No, that's not how that went either. No.
And Rush Limbaugh is also turning on Trump now a little bit, but exactly, you speaking facts, man. This has like been 2 decades in the making, basically, right? Something like that. You know, maybe 3, like you saying in the 80s. Yeah, I mean, all of this disinformation they've been putting out there and massaging people's brains, you know. And right now, everybody, I mean, how could you get so many people to turn against so many victims? And then they can call it a hoax. And you could see that the media is not really going to push back. You could see that the military is going to follow this guy's commands, no matter what they are, especially if they are to go against the people, to hurt people. I mean, they're there, bro. I mean, if you ask me, they're there because any person that could rationalize themselves going out right now in a uniform or in police capacity and confronting citizens, right, in this way, military, National Guard, or otherwise, to me, it's like, why wouldn't you just go all the way and start killing people anyway? Because you're already stupid enough and arrogant enough to raise a gun against the people, to use your power against the actual just everyday taxpayer. Bro, these people, they've crossed the line. I mean, and they may not be smart enough to know it, some of the people going along with it, but obviously there's many people that have principles in the military. People been stepping down. Also in the Fed, people been stepping down. So there's a lot of people that are principled, but is being principled going to be enough? I mean, is there going to be a fight here is what I'm wondering, because just because you step down doesn't mean they won't come after you.
Anyway, at some point in that time, I saw all the swatches. At some point in 2005, I think that was. And then, I believe, I don't remember. I think I got a phone call, actually. I wasn't in Palm Beach. I think I got a phone call that there was a police at his house or something.
And would you got a phone call from him, or you think you just told by somebody that knew that it had happened, or don't you remember?
Definitely not him.
Okay.
I think it would have been the houseman.
So when that happens, whenever it was, that's kind of the first time you know that Mr. Epstein's being investigated for...
I didn't even know I didn't even understand.
Okay.
I didn't have a context for that. It was like, I didn't even know. I didn't know. I didn't. I'm not sure even what I thought. I was like, that's weird.
After you find out about it, what happens with your relationship with him?
I asked him what was going on. And he said, not to worry. Nothing. Saying, don't worry about it. on a phone call. And then it all went quiet. He didn't say, he didn't share. I wasn't part of it at all. I was off with Ted and I really just...
Did he tell you, well, why don't we come back to more specifics around that time period in a few minutes. I want to just finish this opening part. So that case goes on. Ultimately, it ends. What was your relationship like with him during that case when he goes, when he gets sentenced?
He told me, he said, listen, I'm going to jail. I was like, well, okay. And he goes, I'd like you to stay on board to manage the properties, the animals, this and that, and just stay put and I'll continue to pay you in case there's any emergency. I don't trust anyone. And I was like, okay.
Well, when you say continue to pay you,
He'd never stopped paying me.
He never stopped paying. So even when your relationship changes, does the amount increase from the $25,000 or so a year in the beginning? Like, how much are you getting paid yearly?
I think it ended at the time. Well, we had different payment structures, and I'm happy to explain how that worked. But I think salary-wise, if I'm right, it ended at around $250,000 a year.
How much?
$250,000, $250,000.
And when did it end? When was that it stopped?
2008 or 9.
So
9. When did he come out of jail? Whenever he came out of jail.
Okay. So, and over the years, it increased from what you said was you thought about 25,000 to 250,000. That's between like early 90s until 2009.
Oh, you talking about, Eric, you talking about the release of the files? Yeah, they were supposed to release the files, right? It was supposed to be Friday, and exactly. And instead they released this bullshit, right?
Or 10 whenever he stopped, is that right?
Yes.
And how were you paid?
W-2.
W-2 from what company? Or do you...
He just moved me around over to this company, that I didn't care.
Okay.
And I didn't care, and I didn't understand any rhyme or reason. It doesn't, I just, whatever.
Okay, so when he's going to go to jail, he says, can you stay around and manage everything?
Yeah.
And do you do that?
I do.
Okay. And then we'll come back to that.
I will not manage everything, no. I mean, there are other people at this point. My specific role.
Basically, the dude she's acted like she's just totally oblivious. She wasn't aware of any sex trafficking, apparently, as you hear, right? And but she's doing business with him. She's active with him. He's getting paid, and she stays on after. They're talking about after he gets out of jail. She stayed on. Listen, she stayed on while the dude went to jail for raping little girls. At the very least, buying sex from little girls. She stayed on and helped him manage the properties while he's in jail. You hear that? But if you listen to the tone of her voice, she makes it sound like she's totally innocent. Like she was just up to innocent things and nothing to do with any sex trafficking at all. Okay, so you heard that the dude went to jail for rape for minors, and you don't know nothing about nothing, but you're getting paid for him while he's in jail. See how convenient that is? So if somebody was in charge, you would need someone to take care of your shit when you go to jail, right? That would be nice to have somebody, right? But that's not what's going on here. What's going on here is just a friend and an innocent person just doing business with a guy who went to jail for sleeping with some minors. Nothing. She knows nothing about sex trafficking. So she gives that alternative look in a sweet way, but that's not what the victims say.
And was very, very diminished. I reviewed the bill structure that came from the constructions that was still making the island.
Okay.
And wherever else I was going, Paris at this point, because I speak French, I'm fluent in French. And also my relationship with the French decorator was critical to him. In the French component part of that aspect was really vital, and so you'd have...
Yeah, Americans need to get that fact in their brain right now. They have no intention of releasing these files, and nothing. You will get maybe at best 20%, 30% at best. The large majority of names and things and acts and stuff like that is going to be redacted. You're not going to get You're not only going to not just get names of a lot of people, hundreds and hundreds of people, but you're also going to get things, acts redacted that connect with other things that they don't want people to know about. Like I've been saying, this is not just about the sex trafficking. It's what was used against people. What information did they get? Who did they extort? That's what people need to know. Did they did they extort judges? Did they extort congressional members? Did they extort senators? Did they extort any, Supreme Court justice, whatever? But here's the thing: if you look at the Republican Party, man, a lot of them been going down for molestation left and right for all kinds of stuff, and in general, So not to tie everything together, I don't think it's necessary. I think this is basically the real conspiracy here: Epstein, Musk, Maxwell, and Trump and Putin. That's what I think is going on here, and but it's just it's worth noting that she is explaining herself to be completely innocent, like know nothing at all about nothing.
To find someone well, actually, and Spanish, trilingual. You would have had to find someone who was trilingual and that he trusted.
Did you...
To not steal from him.
Did you...
Oh, they released all the files already? They released it's all redacted. All redacted. What do you mean?
So when he gets out of jail, between that time, 2009 or 10, and 2019, what's your relationship like with Mr. Epstein?
Almost non-existent.
Why?
I had just moved on, and I just didn't want to have anything I didn't want the drama. I didn't want to be associated with...
So, do you recall, when you say almost non-existent, does that mean
doesn't mean
some phone calls, some
definitely.
Visits, some trips, or what does it mean?
I don't think there were any trips. Oh, I don't think so.
And where were you living during that time period, or was it
which time period?
Between 2009, 10?
Oh, I see. Yeah, it is redacted. It is actually redacted. Okay, I see. And Politico.com, they did. Okay, it says Epstein's file, they landed. Okay, now comes the waiting game as congressional Republicans and the DOJ coordinate on redactions. Oh my goodness. Okay, Representative Thomas Massey, Republican for, is it Kansas? Kentucky? Oh, it's Kentucky, right. Holds up a copy of a bill he co-sponsored with Representative Connor, a Democrat from California, to force the House to vote on the complete release of the government files on Jeffrey Epstein as he speaks with reporters outside of the Capitol. July. Oh, this is early. Okay, but hold on. What is this? Okay, right. This is today. Congress has officially received the first batch of Jeffrey Epstein files. The Justice Department turned over a tranche of materials related to the case against the late convicted sex offender Friday afternoon. Okay, so it did come out. Damn. These documents transmitted in compliance with the subpoena issued earlier this month by the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee represent only a portion of what the DOJ has in its possession, and it's not immediately clear what sort of information lawmakers currently have available to them. The documents are expected to have heavy redactions. The Oversight Committee now plans to review the materials, with both Democrats and Republicans having access, while under a typical arrangement, the majority, in this case Republicans, would control its disclosure. Either party could release the materials unilaterally. Committee Republicans have pledged to coordinate with the Justice Department to protect the identities of victims and ensure certain details do not complicate ongoing criminal matters. A spokesperson for the panel chair, Representative James Comer, said in a statement that the DOJ's production of Materials Friday contains thousands of pages of documents. The committee intends to make these records public after thorough review to ensure any victim's identification and child sex abuse material are redacted. Okay. The spokesperson said the committee will also consult with the DOJ to ensure any documents released do not negatively impact ongoing criminal cases and investigations. Okay, what ongoing criminal investigations are there? Democrats also intend to review the files before releasing them publicly, according to the person familiar with oversight. Democrats planning speaking on condition of anonymity. Okay. We just received the first batch of Epstein files from Trump's Department of Justice. Our team is beginning a careful review process. We will share additional information as we learn more, said Ranking Member Robert Garcia, Democrat. There's no current time estimate for when the public will be able to see the files. One person familiar with the that must be a typo. One person familiar with the transmission of the files granted anonymity to describe private details. Okay, said the trench encompasses more than 33,000 documents. The Epstein saga has brought together the strange bedfellows in Congress. Democrats sought to stoke division among Trump's base over the administration's initial decision to withhold much of the information in the Epstein case after the president's allies for years clamored for the release of the files. Meanwhile, many Republicans called the administration perceived about face an affront to earlier promises of bringing transparency around the charges of the Epstein files. All right. So, okay, it says here, Comer has an ongoing investigation into the alleged efforts inside former President Joe Biden's White House to hide evidence he was no longer fit for. Okay, what is this? This is some whole other shit. The House oversight subpoena for the Epstein files was the culmination of, okay, so the files are out. The gist of it is that we got to wait to hear more, apparently, right? And yeah, from what I heard, the DOJ, their intention was, and we went over this before. It's been published in the news also, that their intention was to redact not only victims but redact other people that could, whose reputations could be harmed, essentially. Don't quote me, but something like that, who could have harm that aren't part of any apparent acts, right? But still, my view of it is like, how is it you could have all these files and not be able to come out from the beginning and say, we have found other perpetrators? How's that possible? And if you know there's other perpetrators in those files, which they are, because how can you have, are they trying to say that the only videos or the only evidence they have of actual abuse are girls with Epstein and no one else? Is that what they're saying? Because some of the girls were saying that Epstein was recording other people, you know? Yeah. And had people working for him recording people. So for me, I'm just like, in any case, let's try to get through this.
In 2019.
I was back in New York.
Okay. So you had no, you had phone calls with him on occasion?
Yes. Well, I certainly did. Whenever there was any legal drama or any like serious press attention, I always called him to try and find out what was going on.
Okay.
And I did email him at that time for those types of details. I was like, what do I do? I was like.
And then when he's charged in New York federally, yes. How did you learn about that case?
In the press.
And had you, as far as you know, been contacted by law enforcement before his arrest?
No. I wasn't in the indictment.
No, I know that, but even as a witness or asking you if you would give documents or materials.
I had never, up until when my lawyers said that, I don't even know, I had no knowledge of them being interested in me. Honestly, I want to say until he had died.
And so they're asking about the DOJ and they're asking about 2019. So they're asking about when he was in the New York jail, right? Up until this point. Let me see something here. And she's saying the DOJ had never contacted her. Hold on.
Up until when my lawyers said that, I don't even know, I had no knowledge of them being interested in me. Honestly, I want to say until he had died. Now, I know that my lawyers were in touch with some district of New York at some point after his arrest. I'm pretty sure that had to have happened, right?
Okay.
But my understanding is that they had not shown any interest. I know my lawyers went to see them once, I believe. And
went to see him, meaning Mr. Epstein?
No, the press.
And had you, as far as you know, been contacted by law enforcement before his arrest?
No. I wasn't in the indictment.
No, I know that, but even as a witness or asking you if you would give documents or materials?
I had never, up until he...
So she's trying to say that the DOJ never contacted her in the new indictment, in the one that Epstein ended up killing himself over. And you know what? I'm just trying to me, it just sounds like, again, they're trying to soften her up, trying to go along with this idea that it's a Democrat hoax, like literally. But the thing about it is that if you listen to the alternative story, the victims tell a completely different story.
Explosive and just kind of a wide
listen to this
group. And that's just that we know of, that the Justice Department has acknowledged. It is likely many times that. But I think it's important that this is, these victims viewed this not as a political football, which this has kind of become in recent weeks. For them, this is about accountability and justice. And that's important for two reasons. One, Epstein, we know through our reporting and all of the evidence that has been presented in court as well as civil litigation, that this was an extensive sex trafficking operation that involved a lot of people, including some mandatory reporters, doctors, other people that would have...
There's a lot of people that have already been interviewed. All of these people would have had to be lying. I mean, is there even 100 people? Yes. There's hundreds of people. They said there's 1,000 victims, and there's other people they interviewed that just, somehow were around, right? So this is really, really, they're trying to say that you can make all those people make up this stuff. I mean, but here's the worst part about it.
To speak out about what was happening. And so those people have not yet been held accountable. Really important. There's an element of re-traumatization.
This is the ill part about it. So while Maxwell describes herself in one light, the victims say she was doing this to them.
Here. Because one of the things that Maxwell in particular did so effectively is she would taunt these victims, and she would say, or people that would be in a position to know things, and she would say, you can't do anything because we own the police. We own the FBI. We own the district attorney's office. And so that had a really chilling effect.
And it's like, so the victims all went on record saying this about her. And then you have thousands of people that also, there's some record of people, at least being interviewed. This is just ridiculous. It's just a complete, utter cover up. Like you said, Eric, it's a total cover up because there's no way both can be true. Look, there's no way it can be a hoax. There's no way it could be a hoax. It's just not possible. It's easier to do a cover up than it is to do the type of hoax that they're talking about. Come on. That would have to be the most detailed, the biggest that operation is even bigger than the operation they're describing. You know what I'm saying? Like this is insane.
Up until when my lawyers said that, I don't even know, I had no knowledge of them being interested in me. Honestly, I want to say until he had died.
Look, this is what was told back then in Florida.
What came out of this horrific experience was changes in legislation, changes in rules about how certain things happen. One of the things that Maxwell in particular did.
This is it. This is what the police got back then in Florida.
So effectively is she would taunt these victims, and she would say, or people that would be in a position to know things, and she would say, you can't do anything because we own the police. We own the FBI. We own the district attorney's office. And so that had a really chilling effect.
Yeah, it's just cover up. It's terrible, and it's right in plain sight. And they're not even attempting to do a good effort in it. It's just like force the story. It, these files can't come out, and they're going to force it. It's not, people aren't going to get. They even said, they didn't release all the information, obviously, but the little bits that they did, the partial release is a lot of redactions in it. So, yeah. And let me ask y'all this out there. Do you think the public is strong enough to say enough is enough? Do y'all think the public is there with this, like with this Epstein shit? Like, do you think people finally believe and understand that, wait a second, this guy, they really are involved in a cover up, and this is really what's going on? This is serious. I mean, do you think people are coming to that, or do you still think there's a lot of people in delusion about it and just pretending like, yeah, it's a Democrat setup. It's a Democrat setup.
Now, I know that my lawyers were in touch with some district of New York at some point after his arrest. I'm pretty sure that had to have happened, right?
Okay.
But my understanding is that they had not shown any interest. I know my lawyers went to see them once, I believe. And
went to see him, meaning Mr. Epstein?
No, them, the Southern District of New York.
Okay, the Southern New York.
Sorry. And that they had been in touch with them, and...
But now you're talking about after Mr. Epstein died, or are you talking about before he died?
I think...
If you can remember.
It's easily verifiable. My memory is that they were in touch with him when he was arrested. Mm-hmm. I don't know if anything happened until after his death, then after that.
Okay.
I don't think they saw them, met with them, Southern District of New York I'm talking about now, until after he died. I know that they were in regular telephone contact with them, and that my lawyers believed that they had been told that there was no interest in me.
Okay.
And were absolutely stunned when I was arrested. But maybe stunned is too big a word, but surprised. I certainly was.
Okay. So... So that's was a long description of what was a very long life, and that was very helpful. So I want to go back and talk more specifically now about particular areas, but that was a very helpful kind of foundation for us. The first thing I want to talk about, you talked about earlier on about Mr. Epstein's financial success.
Yeah, they spent a whole hour, over an hour, damn near, just. No victims at all. No victims at all.
What, do you know how when you first meet him at some point, you say, I got this place for you to rent, you can't afford it, and he laughs at you and says, yes, I can. What did you learn about his wealth and how he was, and how he accumulated his money?
I can tell you what he told me.
Yes.
So I know that he was hired from working at a private school whose name eludes me at this point. Dalton. He was working at Dalton as a math teacher. And he met, I think it was Ace, I'm not sure. He met someone from Bear who hired him because he was very good at math. And I believe that he then worked on creating a trading of
just describe it, it's okay. Go ahead.
He came up with some new type of trading system. Not a system so much, but as a vehicle, a trading vehicle that I'm just escaping right now.
And this is while he was working at Bear. Is it true or no?
Or some issue at Bear Stands, and there was some disagreement. He wasn't fired because obviously he was still very friendly with Ace and with Jimmy, at least by the time I met him. But they were working with him, and he had money at Bear Stands. So his money, his clients' money. I'll come to that. But he told me himself that he started a business where he looked for stolen money. So if somebody let's see. I'm trying to think of some intelligent way to say it, but I can't think of anything. I've been with not very. I'll give it to you. So let's say you have El Chapo. Oh God, I don't know where he comes from, but anyway, we've got El Chapo, and El Chapo's laundering money, or he's working with the Sinaloa cartel, and he steals money from the Sinaloa cartel and he moves it to wherever. So he's got stolen money from the Sinaloa, goes to Epstein. This didn't happen. I'm just just coming up with something in my head. And the Sinaloa says to Epstein, can you track down my $1 billion that the other cartels stole from me? And Epstein will go and find the $1 billion.
I mean, it sounds like she's already been instructed on what they're going to ask her. That's what it sounds like to me, you know. And of course, yeah, she sounds like she already knows that she's on the side that is going to win. Basically, you know, all she has to do is offer up these simple statements in these areas that they're asking about, and she'll be all right. You know, kind of like she's gotten the word already. You know, yeah.
Dollars, and we'll take a portion of the money that was stolen as a fee and give back the remainder. That would be on a percentage basis.
No, but like what you just described, which I appreciate, was just hypothetical.
Please, that was completely hypothetical.
That would involve, like, so two kind of drug cartels stealing from each other. Practically speaking, he was more of a businessman.
So here's how I think this started, is that he had a girlfriend. It was always good. You're always to the girls. I guess there was a girl whose name will come back to me. Maybe not whilst we're here, but I don't know, maybe. There's a woman. There's always a woman. And she was the daughter of a billionaire, for instance. And that billionaire, whatever his name was, had some money stolen. And for some reason, this woman introduced Jeffrey, and Jeffrey, I think that's how that business started. That's what I remember.
And is that something he told you about, or something that happened while you knew him?
No, something he told me before I met him.
And so when you meet him, and once you're part of his life in the early to mid-90s, what is he doing to make money that you see? Does he have clients? Does he have rich clients? Does he have famous clients? And how, and what, if he does have clients?
Notice how any real question, he just asks about the money, and she goes into the story. Like, it's like she always have to characterize the events as like this kind of, you know, happy-go-lucky special people, you know, and instead of saying what did he do, how did he get it, it's like she goes into characterizing, you know, the kind, you know, actually just trying to paint a picture. She is trying to paint a picture, but she's not answering the questions really. It's actually you would think that a person interviewing her would pick up on that and kind of change the tone a little bit. But he just sounds like he's there to record whatever she says. Yeah, you know, it's weird.
That's what service is he providing them?
He does have, well, obviously there's the one very famous client that everybody talks about, which is Les Wexner. And that was a very important client to him. And I think it's probably helpful to describe what I know to be true about what he managed for Les. And there's some bits that I'll be improvising.
Yep.
I want to just make you understand I was not part of Epstein's business world, except tangentially and obviously. So what I'm talking about is either what I observed or what I overheard or what I saw within the business, but I wasn't responsible for any of the client's money or anything like that. So it's separate.
Okay. Yep, I understand.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So with Les, for instance, it was really all encompassing. It could go from the structure of the business. So he structured or restructured the limited. I know that. And I'll come back to that because I also travelled with him and Les. And I was in business meetings with them on the plane when they were there. So I could observe and I could hear some of this. And whilst I'm not necessarily terribly business sophisticated, I'm sophisticated enough to be able to at least have some knowledge of what was happening. All right, so then he restructured the business he restructured his entire personal finances and would also handle all of the investment strategy. I don't know if it was 100%.
Mr. Wexner, you're saying?
Sorry, yes. This is all Wexner I'm talking about now. So let's say you had $1 billion to invest. So you would, in people's normal investment portfolios, you'd have, some T-bonds, some this and that. But Epstein's strategies would be much more sophisticated than that.
And so just staying with Mr. Wexner, from what you heard or saw, is Mr. Epstein paid by him in percentages? Like, so there would be a deal and he would be paid, or did you understand it to be like a flat fee? Was he a business partner? Like, how did you understand him to be paid?
I think it was more a la carte. So let's say, this is a conversation actually Epstein told me, so illustrated for me, said if I saved someone $5 billion, he would take a flat percentage of that $5 billion. So he wouldn't have $5 billion back.
When you say you think that, is that because you heard him talking about that, or you?
It would be a combination of both. I certainly told me that, and I heard him talk to people like that. I couldn't. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No.
Did Mr. Wexner gift a property in New York to Mr. Epstein?
So we're talking about 71st Street. So I don't know what the business deal was, because again, I'm not part of his business thing, but I think what happened would be that, let's say Les owed him, theoretically, for his services, $100 million, or whatever it was. He could have traded that against the property.
But do you know that happened, or do you remember whether there was conversations about that, or are you just thinking that could be one way that it happened?
I'm not sure. And I'm not trying to be, I just don't remember if that's something I know, or if that's something that I remember, or if it's something that I have subsequently known. I believe that to be what happened, but I don't want to tell you that I have. Does that make sense?
Did Mr. Wexner and Mr. Epstein, are you aware of their falling out that they ultimately had?
I think I wasn't there, and I don't know how it happened. I only know what Les has said in the press.
So you only know about their falling out, or whatever you want to call it, from what you've kind of read, not from any first-hand knowledge. You weren't there. You weren't part of that.
Correct.
Do you know somebody named Stephen Hoffenberg?
Only from the press.
Okay. And so you don't know anything about whatever business relationship they may have had, Mr. Epstein?
Never spoke about him, never mentioned it. I only learned about that, whatever that is, I don't even know what the truth is of that story, from the press.
How about Leon Black?
Oh, I did meet Leon. I do know Leon.
When do you remember, and again, I know we're talking about a very long time ago, but do you remember approximately when you met him?
I could have met Leon, not really. So I might have met him, nothing to do, because Leon Black is very good friends with other friends of mine. I would have met him, when I say socially, I might have met him. How Leon and Epstein became really good friends, I'm not sure.
But not through you, as far as you recall?
Not through me, as far as I know, no.
Yeah, Leon Black, just a note, is the co-founder of Apollo Global Management. And his connection to Epstein was Black admitted to paying Epstein about $158 million between 2012 and 2017 for what he called estate planning and tax advice. Right. So, yeah, I don't know why he's asking about that, and Stephen Hoffenberg, I think they said it's, what is it? Tower Financial, right? Tower Financial Corporation, which was exposed as being a Ponzi scheme in the 90s, actually. So he was claimed to be one of Epstein's partners. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, how much truth there is to that. But in any case,
I'm sure that's not through me.
Do you know what kind of work Mr. Epstein was doing for Mr. Black over the years?
The same as what he did for Wexner.
So, we just talked about two individuals, and again, I know we're talking about maybe a 15-year time period or even longer. How many clients like that did Mr. Epstein have?
Well, why don't I just give you the names that I remember? And
Say it again?
Why won't I just give you the names?
Yeah.
Do you want the names?
No, sure, go ahead.
Elizabeth Johnson, Johnson & Johnson.
When did, as far as you know, when did the relationship between Ms. Johnson and Mr. Epstein start?
90s. 95, 96.
So during
90s.
the time period?
Yes, we're talking 90s. We're talking when I was there, when I was around.
How did their relationship start?
I don't know how he became that friendly, why he ended up managing her money. I wasn't there. I mean, I really had a separate life. We really had separate lives. Except where they sagged.
But it wasn't from...
It wasn't from me.
From you?
No, it was not.
Okay. And what's your understanding of what Mr. Epstein did for Ms. Johnson?
Same as what he did for Wexner. And when you have to understand, it went down to in tiny detail. So I remember, this is an actual memory, that he would make the contracts for the maids, for the people who worked in their homes.
So he would assist his clients at times with, you're saying, with even small things like contractual relationships.
He said no detail was too small, because everything that affected how they lived and how they managed their life was something that he felt he was, if they wanted, would be responsible for, to make sure that the contract, so that if you had to fire someone, it wouldn't come back and sue you, or if that sort of
Okay, so Mr. Black, Mr. Werner, Miss Johnson, who else?
What's the name of the woman?
There's someone named Jess Staley?
Yeah, I do know Jeff.
Who's that?
He was at Morgan Stanley and at Barclays.
What do you know whether he and Mr. Epstein had a relationship?
Well, not a physical one.
I didn't suggest it. No, I'm saying a relationship in the broadest sense of the word. Business, personal, both.
Listen to how comfortable they are together. That's so weird. That's so weird. She, like you said, she is very, very comfortable here. But it's it's something to this, you know. It's either that narcissistic spin, you know, that narcissistic magic wand she's used to throwing on, or she's been fed the questions early and she knows that she's going to get a free ride. So, or it's both, you know. That's what I'm thinking.
Yes, both.
Okay. And do you know when they met?
No, I don't know when they met. But you can time it. No, I don't know that you can. No, I don't know.
So, but what was the nature of their relationship as far as you know?
I think they were friends, and I think that they were business partners. Well, partners, too strong a word, but they did business together.
So, did you, again, I want to stay focused on the time when you were the most involved in his life. So,
the 90s.
The early 90s through early 2000s.
Beginning of the 2000s, yes.
Did you, so we talked about 4 people. So
there's more.
Were there more? Okay.
Oh, yes, there were more. There was a lady whose name I just can't. Can I get my book? Maybe I wrote them down.
Sure.
Where are my glasses?
She said maybe she wrote them down.
Again, I want to stay focused on the time when you were the most involved in his life. So
the 90s.
The early 90s through early 2000s.
Beginning of the 2000s, yes.
Did you, so we talked about 4 people. So
there's more.
Were there more? Okay.
Oh, yes, there were more. There was a lady whose name I just can't. Can I get my book? Maybe I wrote them down.
Can I get my book? Maybe I wrote them down. Like, you don't know if you wrote the names down already?
Sure.
Where are my glasses? Epstein wouldn't really let me meet his clients.
What book are you? What is that?
I wrote some notes for the meeting.
Okay, great. Okay.
Is that right?
No, that's fine. I just was curious what we're looking at.
Oh, okay.
Not the birthday book.
It's not the birthday
No, we're
book.
going to come to that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
All right. I wrote down some names because I tried to make.
So it sounds like she's drawing a picture where it's like Epstein at this time never used to let her meet his clients. So, okay, whatever a client is, right? That's supposed to be business, I guess. So she only met people that he socialized with or had fun with. I'm not getting where this, but it totally sounds like they're trying to create a narrative for her, alibi for her, basically. Like they've created it and they're documenting the alibi so they have something to walk away with so people can say, so, for the people that want to believe she's innocent, they have something, they have a narrative drawn up for them already.
I just want you to understand my memory's not as good as it was because when I was in Brooklyn, I was in the SHU for almost 2 years and I was on suicide watch for almost 2 years, which meant that they woke me up every 15 minutes for the entire time. And it really did affect my ability to
understand.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not.
So you've taken some notes.
I just made some names in advance
so go ahead.
of this,
So,
and you're happy to look at them.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, she took some notes and she has a reason for taking some notes and it's been established now. So you see, it's really weird.
Okay. Well, funny you say. First 2 names, 1 is Wexner, 2 is Staley, 3 is Leon Black.
Okay.
Glenn Dubin.
And you hear her laughing right there. To me, that sounds like nervousness or like just something weird about how she laughed there,
Okay.
Who's that?
Eva. First 2 names, 1 is Wexner, 2 is Staley, 3 is Leon Black.
Okay.
Glenn Dubin was a client.
Who's that?
Eva Dubin's husband.
Okay. What was there? I mean, if you can, do you know when that relationship started?
Well, it wouldn't have been before they got married for sure. So we're going to date that from wherever that was. And then Epstein was heavily involved with Highbridge Capital and the financing or selling of Highbridge to JP Morgan.
Okay. Go ahead. Here's a Dublin. Yep.
Okay, you're only looking for clients, so. All right, there's a woman. There's a woman in Ohio. I just can't think of her name, but I tried to remember it yesterday, and I can't.
So this is a good thing, as you think of things.
How many people? I need to go to the article, or the State Department. Is it the State Department? I'm going to go back there and read where the files are. I downloaded these files from the official site, right, where they released it, the DOJ. Yeah, so it's the DOJ. I got to go back there and read if they give any description of this interview, written description. I'm curious about how many people were in the room while this interview was being conducted.
Write it down, and if they have any other names, they'll ask you. But don't force it out. So you'll have time to think about this, especially today, this afternoon, overnight. Because we'll probably meet tomorrow.
But you can find them. I mean, if you basically find a billionaire, female.
So there's a woman in Ohio who's wealthy.
Yeah, well, you can identify her yourself because she had the largest Klein painting. It was huge. So you can find her because it'll be in the museum. So that's her.
And so that was one of Mr. Epstein's clients. She was one of Mr. Epstein's clients as well. Okay. Who else?
But they have the book. They have the book that she herself says, the birthday card book, where everyone's writing so she knows who all his friends are. So if you ask me, I don't know why they don't start in the book. That's so weird. And I wonder if the book is going to come up in the dialogue also. The thing about Donald Trump's letter. Are they going to ask her about Donald Trump's letter? That's what I'm curious about. If they don't even ask her about Donald Trump's letter, that is ridiculous. That is the most craziest letter of all time. Talking about keep our secret together and all these little weird things, right? I mean, that is, if they don't ask her about that, basically, why are they interviewing her?
Well, I think that there was other people that he would like assist. I know that he helped Lynn Forrester, who became Linda Rothschild. She'll deny it, and she has, but she can't.
Oh, you hear that? She'll deny it. Oh, okay. So this is, to me, this sounds like she was told what to say in advance, straight up. I mean, she cannot be trusted, obviously, but they will lean on this in the public as some reason to pardon her. They will go with this narrative. I guarantee you, J.D. Vance is going to go with this narrative. The DOJ is going to go with her narrative. Anything else, they're not going to go with. That's my guess. That's my guess.
And when you say help, the same help in business, or what will help?
I have no idea what he did for her. I know he helped her financially. Her husband was the controller of New York. So, but I don't. Again, I'm not inside his business, but he would have this notion that he blackmailed men. We don't really have to go there. That he wasn't a businessman and that everything he did was a fraud or a funk or whatever. I don't believe that to be true.
Why?
So now she's putting out the story that there's no blackmail. Jeffrey Epstein did. So there's just 1,000 victims or more. But it was just for freaking off. No blackmail at all. No blackmail going on, right? No blackmail going on at all. I'm sorry. But again, it's going to be very interesting to see which one of the two narratives people go with. Are people going to go with the Ghislaine Maxwell narrative that she's sharing now after and call it a Democrat hoax, that she's been convicted, right? And call the victims that have gone on record about her, call them a hoax too? Those would-be little girls that were sex trafficked, sex slaves. They described themselves as slaves. The ones that said that Maxwell was telling them stuff like this.
Law enforcement talks to victims that they have to be informed before certain things happen. None of the victims today have been informed about the facts that Maxwell was moved. And that, is another just kind of slap in the face. It's also, I think, really important. There's an element of re-traumatization here. Because one of the things that Maxwell in particular did so effectively is she would taunt these victims, and she would say, or people that would be in a position to know things, and she would say, you can't do anything because we own the police. We own the FBI. We own the district attorney's office. And so that had a really chilling effect on.
So she's saying that no, there was no extortion. Look, if there's no extortion, why do you need to own the FBI? Why do you need to own the police? Why do you need to own the DOJ? You see what I mean? If there is clearly two totally different people being described here. One, vicious, involved with some serious power players and trafficking thousands of girls for some reason. Or there's an innocent woman that has been framed and is totally innocent, has nothing to do with this, and it was a Democrat hoax. And those victims were all liars. All the victims, all of them, all total liars. Which narrative are you going to go with? Are you going to go with narrative one? It really happened, and she's this atrocious, mean person that was telling the victims, we own the FBI, we own the police, we own the DOJ? Or are you going with number two? She's the innocent lady who is being framed, and it's a Democrat hoax, and all the victims were lying.
Sorry?
So you say you don't believe it to be true, but show me why you think that. Just from I know you've been talking about it, that he was very conscientious. He was very good at math. He paid a lot of attention to his clients. But yes, you're right. There's allegations of blackmail, or also that that there was some level of fraud involved in what he did, and you don't believe it. Why do you say that?
Well, let me rephrase that. If there was fraud, I never saw it. What I saw, or what I felt when I ran that office. I was responsible for the staff. People worked. There were lawyers. There were accountants. I never heard him. I never felt anything icky.
Did you ever see him blackmail a client? Did you ever see him blackmail a friend or an acquaintance?
Never.
Well, so I think when folks talk about blackmail, and we can talk about, we can talk about that now. There are a lot of allegations about him, which we should talk about, and we can do that now. And the fact that he abused young women.
Yes.
Full stop. Okay, which means the way that I'm defining abuse, as has been widely reported, is that now, and there are a lot of allegations. We can talk about that now. There are a lot of allegations about him, which we should talk about, and we can do that now. And the fact that he abused young women.
Yes.
Full stop. Okay, which means the way that I'm defining abuse, as has been what
he's already been convicted in Florida, and this guy used the word allegation. That's there's been a lot of allegations. No, he was also convicted in Florida of abusing girls. I mean, what did they, or what is it? What did they give him a slap on the wrist? So they called it buying sex from minors, or what? What did they? That's curious. I'm going to look into that right now.
The reporter is that he would cause young women in high school to be recruited to come to his house and give them massages, and as part of that, he would sexually abuse them. Okay,
yes.
So I want to talk about that, but as it relates to blackmail, the question is whether you're aware of any time that any of the individuals we're talking about, and we'll talk about others, received massages from women who were under 18 or may have been under 18, and that whether there was any sexual assaults or sexual contact between any of these people and those masseuses.
Okay, in Florida, he was actually only charged with, or he pleaded guilty to procuring a minor for prostitution. Yeah, so that's so detailed. Why is it procuring a minor for prostitution? That's abuse. That's sexual abuse, right? Solicitation of prostitution. I mean, he was labeled a sex offender. I mean, I don't know what he means by there's allegations of. Let's take that back.
Which would have allowed then Mr. Epstein potentially.
Yes, I'm not sure that inappropriate relations with her on premise is correct. So even, let's assume that premise is correct, that he was doing that and he was going to tell everybody, going to say, you had inappropriate relations with her underage girl. If you don't have video or photographic evidence, I'm not sure that even the FBI would take that, well, maybe today, but certainly not back then, would take that seriously.
So the FBI doesn't have the pictures from John from the Daily Beast. What's the guy's name? The journalist that was interviewing Jeffrey Epstein with all those hours of video. I mean, he doesn't have that, where he's saying it. He said it a million times that Epstein showed him pictures of Trump with underage girls. Let me play something here.
House, they believe that the story in the Wall Street Journal about the birthday greeting that Donald Trump, the salacious birthday greeting that Donald Trump sent Jeffrey Epstein in 2003 on the occasion of his 50th birthday, was a leak from the Maxwell family. And in the White House, they regarded this as, quote, a shot across the bow. So a threat, if that Ghislaine had damaging material on Donald Trump. So Donald Trump's lawyer, who, as it happens, is also the number 2 in the United States Justice Department, but principally is Donald Trump's own lawyer, went down, and I expect to try to figure out exactly what Ghislaine Maxwell has, and then they would figure out House. They believe that the story in the Wall Street Journal about the birthday greeting that Donald Trump, the salacious birthday greeting that Donald Trump at one point, after Trump had been elected, and I was sitting talking to Epstein, and he said, "Wait a minute, I got to show you something." And then he went into his safe, and he came out with photographs. They were Polaroids, I think, and he kind of spread them out like playing cards, and it was Trump. I mean, I think there were a dozen of them, and it was Trump with girls of an uncertain age at Epstein's Palm Beach house, where all of with girl playing cards and photographs. They were Polaroids, I think, and he kind of spread them out like playing cards, and it was Trump. I mean, I think there were a dozen of them, and it was Trump with girls of an uncertain age at Epstein's Palm Beach house, where all of the things that he would ultimately be accused of took place. And I remember very vividly 3 of them. There are 2 in which Trump is, the girls, topless girls, are sitting on Trump's lap. And then a 3rd in which he has a stain on the front of his pants, and the girls are kind of pointing at it, sort of bent over, laughing, covering
their mouths.
Yeah, exactly, and pointing. 3 or 4 girls, and those are the ones I specifically remember. And my assumption is that they were in the safe, and I have seen.
Right. So he's clearly established this story. He said this story in the media plenty of times. And now let's go back to this one.
You have to have, certainly not appropriate relations with her. So even, let's assume that premise is correct. That's a really good place to start with how this story began.
Okay.
So even, let's assume that premise is correct, that he was doing that and he was going to tell everybody, going to say, you had inappropriate relations with her underage girl. If you don't have...
He just did that. That's exactly what Michael Wolff is saying that he did. He came while he was being interviewed while Trump was in the White House. Literally just became the president in the White House with his cabinet. And Jeffrey Epstein goes out there and shows this dude, Michael Wolff, pictures of Trump and saying, yeah, here go the pictures. So I'm not really sure why they're having a hard time saying that that's blackmail. What do you think it does to tell someone else, to expose someone else that way? What would you call it? I mean, if I have pictures of you doing some stuff with little girls and you become the president and I go to a journalist and show them the pictures, what do you think I'm doing? Call it what you want. Am I exposing them or am I blackmailing them? Or is it both? Or could both have happened? Could I have tried to blackmail him in the beginning and it didn't work? And then I said, well, F it, I'm going to go to some journalists. Either way, the question that he's asking her, is he aware of Jeffrey Epstein committing blackmail? And then they start, then it's like they talk all around this little story. I mean, as if it might be the only time, or if it, or even if they don't even realize they have this story. Maybe. I mean, I don't get it, but let's listen some more. Hold on.
And he was going to tell everybody. Going to assume that that premise is correct, that he was doing that and he was going to tell everybody.
He told a journalist. A journalist is everybody.
Going to say, oh, you had inappropriate relations with an underage girl. If you don't have video, photograph.
He had a photograph. Yes, he showed the man a photograph.
Graphic evidence.
3. More than 3.
I'm not sure that even the FBI would take that. Well, maybe today, but certainly not back then.
The FBI has photographs, allegedly. I mean, so if they don't have these photographs, did they ask Michael Wolff about the photographs? I mean, that's what I'm curious about. I mean, there's like parallel stories that don't add up.
Would take that seriously. So you have photographic evidence, inappropriate relations with an underage girl. If you don't have video, photographic evidence, I'm not sure that even the FBI would take that. Well, maybe today, but certainly not back then. Would take that seriously.
And that's very interesting that she said, I doubt the FBI would take that seriously, right? It's an interesting choice of words.
What a explosive and just kind of earth-shattering development this is for so many things that Maxwell in particular did so effectively is she would taunt these victims, and she would say, or people that would be in a position to know things, and she would say, you can't do anything because we own the police, we own the FBI, we own the district attorney's office. And so that had a really chilling effect on people that may have been inclined to come forward. And this situation today, none of the victims today have been informed about the fact that Maxwell was moved.
Today, but certainly not back then, would take that seriously. So you have to have something to say, hey, look, I've got this video of you doing terrible things, and you need to. So I built those houses, many of them. I decorated those houses. I put the...
Look at how quickly she just jumped back into, she built these houses. She built these houses. She decorated these houses just from one moment to the next. Listen to, you could tell she's lying. She is a serious narcissist, dude. You put her on the queue and say, go ahead, lie your ass off. And she's going to put it on, cry, and a whole bunch of other shit. Look, listen to this. This is weird.
You need to. So if you don't have, and let's assume that that premise is correct, that he was doing that and he was going to tell everybody, going to say, oh, you had inappropriate relations with an underage girl. If you don't have video, photographic evidence, I'm not sure that even the FBI would take that. Well, maybe today, but certainly not back then.
You hear that? Maybe today, but certainly not back then. Now, this is what she was telling them back then.
The victims today have been informed about the facts that Maxwell was moved. The FBI can't do anything because we own the police. We own, and she would say, you can't do anything because we own the police. We own the FBI. We own the district attorney's office.
Would take that seriously. Video, photographic evidence. I'm not sure that even the FBI would take that. Well, maybe today, but certainly not back then. Would take that. Going to say, even let's assume that that premise is correct, that he was doing that and he was going to tell everybody, going to say, oh, you had inappropriate relations with an underage girl. If you don't have video, photographic evidence, I'm not sure that even the FBI would take that. Well, maybe today, but...
So did they have video evidence? Do they have video evidence of Donald Trump Does the FBI have video evidence of Donald Trump? It sounds like, according to this guy, that they likely do, because he just got finished saying that they do, and it was in the safe most likely. And when they raided his house, but he saw the pictures because Jeffrey Epstein used to go out every time and bring these pictures out and say, here's picture one. Look at Donald Trump with these naked girls, shirts, topless girls,
So what we have here is the Justice Department, the United States Justice Department, A, interfering with a witness, B, quite explicitly doing this to protect the President of the United States.
Bam. He spells it out right there. I mean, the whole thing is, look, he is the one that needs to be interviewed by Congress and the FBI. But obviously they're not going to, or they don't want to, or they don't find this interesting. But I'm sorry, there's enough evidence out there to see that not only to see there's a crime, essentially, to see there's more crimes going on right now as we watch this stuff. I mean, he said they're going out there and interfering, obstructing with a witness, right? Let's listen some more to what the witness has to say. She doesn't know nothing about nobody.
Not back then would take that seriously. So you have to have something to say, hey, look, I've got this video of you doing terrible things and you need to. So I built those houses, many of them.
You see, she just flipped right into, I built those houses. Lady, ain't nobody ask you about that. How do you go into blackmail, little girls in blackmail, to I built those houses?
Decorated those houses. I put the electricians in for the wiring. I never wired nor saw a single house that had any type of inappropriate, let's say, video surveillance, and I'll define that for you. Inappropriate.
This is interesting, the fact that she's going to explain, what does that have to do with it? I mean, would this pop in your head automatically if you were a witness? I never sold a house that had video equipment, and like, okay, but did they ask you that? She's offering that up herself. That's interesting.
Appropriate surveillance would mean in a bathroom, in a bedroom, inappropriate that had any electricians in those houses, many of them. This story began.
Okay, so she's saying she doesn't know about any blackmail. She didn't see the cameras, or implying that if she did see cameras and things like that, then she would think to herself, wow, maybe somebody's being blackmailed. Is that what's going on here?
So even, let's assume that premise is correct, that he was doing that and he was going to tell everybody, going to say, oh, you had inappropriate relations with an underage girl. If you don't have video, photographic evidence, because I'm not sure that even the FBI would take that, well, maybe today, but certainly not back then, would take that seriously. So you have to have something to say, hey, look, I've got this video of you doing terrible things and you need to. So I built those houses, many of them. I decorated those houses. I put the electricians in for the wiring. I never wired nor saw a single house that had any type of inappropriate, let's say, video surveillance, and I'll define that for you. Inappropriate surveillance would mean in a bathroom, in a bedroom, in any private area of a home.
In a room where there were massages given.
Inappropriate. I would say, I would define appropriate surveillance to be the front door of a house, or potentially, as in 71st Street, the physical plant. Anywhere else would be grotesque.
So I just want to come back to, I know.
Anywhere else would be grotesque, according to her. So again, now it's like she's the type of person that would consider that grotesque. Yeah, it would be grotesque, but did you do it? Because people are saying you're the devil, lady. People are saying you're the devil. And so grotesque to a devil is like, ice cream and candy and shit. So just because it's grotesque, it's interesting choice of words she used. It wouldn't just be grotesque. It would be a goddamn crime. That's called blackmail.
Would be grotesque. Physical plant. Or potential surveillance to be the front door of a house. Or potentially, as in 71st Street, the physical plant. Anywhere else would be grotesque.
So I just want to come back to, I know I'm just hopefully saying the obvious, but when you say the houses, you're talking about his New York brownstone.
Yes.
You're talking about the island in the Caribbean.
Yes.
You're talking about the residence in Palm Beach.
Yes.
And you're talking about the ranch in New Mexico.
Yes.
Anywhere else?
Paris.
And in Paris. And so...
And the plane. I saw some ridiculous thing with the plane that was not my job. Yes. I didn't hire any electrician on the plane.
So unequivocally, from what you know, and you only know what you know.
I only know what I know.
But from what you know, you do not believe a camera exists, or a video camera, or a camera that takes pictures inside any of his residences.
Correct.
So even the appropriate cameras that you just talked about, which would be kind of exterior security cameras, did you know whether there was any cameras that you're aware of inside any of the locations?
Never, with one exception.
Okay, what's the exception?
The exception is Palm Beach.
Okay.
And the reason, so in Palm Beach, Epstein was having money stolen. He noticed money was being stolen from his briefcase, call it his briefcase.
I mean, by the way, this directly contradicts one of the witnesses' own testimony. I believe various ones, but one for sure. There's, I forget, is it Jufree? Is it Jufree? I believe it is Jufree that mentioned this. But if not, it's one of them definitely just giving some interviews where she's mentioned surveillance equipment, a room with people inside of the room watching the cameras, and that the room was in, the cameras were shooting something in an area where they do things. But secondly, let's just go back, right? Actually, I got to review this again. I'm sorry, y'all. This stream is going on forever. I'm gonna start it over again because I didn't think it was so damn long. This is a long ass tape, but I got to where I wanted to get to with this contradiction as far as the fact that Michael Wolff claims he saw pictures and several times, and that they were in a safe that he believes the FBI has, that they would have confiscated that, right? And then Jufree is saying like, that would have been something, that would have been hard. Let's say you did have photographs or videos that you wanted to expose. If you didn't have those pictures back then, it would be hard to get the FBI to believe you. But then you also have now the reporting from MSNBC where they say several of the victims are corroborated in saying that Jufree used to tell them that they own the police, they own the FBI, and they own the DA back then. So who are you to believe, And who are you to believe? Who should someone believe about this? And on top of that, then you have several, another one that directly identified Trump that never really made it to trial. But let's see here.
And that's when I got approached by Tiffany.
In the bus station?
Yes, she was actually picking up a girl that is a billionaire friend of Donald Trump's that came to this interview on my free will, on my own free will.
Okay. Was anything promised to you if you do this interview?
There was nothing promised to me for doing this interview, no.
Hang on, guys. We need quiet. Yep. One more time, please.
No, there was nothing promised to me for doing this interview.
Excellent. Everything that you will tell us during this interview, is it the truth?
Yes, everything that I say at this interview will be the truth.
Absolutely. Okay. So let's start with, how did you meet Donald Trump?
I met Donald Trump at some parties I attend that I was working for Mr. Jeffrey Epstein. There was about 3 or 4 times that I had encounters with Donald Trump.
And how old were you when you met him?
I was 13.
13.
Mm-hmm.
And how did the initial meeting, how did that work?
Whew. The first time that I met Donald Trump was...
Guys! Seriously.
Okay, you can hear that?
We need absolute quiet.
Okay, sorry.
And the first time that I met Donald Trump was at a party at Jeffrey Epstein's mansion. There was an orgy going on, and he was kind of watching off in the distance. And he basically asked if I could come over and give him a hand job. And at first, I wasn't very comfortable with it. This was like my first party, and I didn't think that was my responsibility. But my recruiter told me that I needed to do it, so I agreed to. And then he, I began to. Sorry, this is a little difficult, but before I gave him a hand job, he kind of slapped my hand away and said, "You need to use a glove." And the recruiter ran over and handed me a glove and said, "No one touches Mr. Trump's penis without a glove." So I needed to use a glove. I gave him a hand job, and then immediately after, he had an orgasm, he left, and I didn't see him again at that party.
And the person having the party, who is this person?
It was Mr. Jeffrey Epstein was having the party.
And for those who don't know, who is Jeffrey Epstein?
As Jeffrey Epstein is Jeffrey Epstein is a billionaire friend of Donald Trump's that was responsible for throwing the sex parties.
Ladies and gentlemen,
they want war. Crime babies looking for food, starvation, the recipe, people subdued. When the people you trust got it in for you. Deceit is the word of the day and every clue. Don't let it go, it's from the days of old. Time is up, but some still do not know. Can I make up my mind, is it worth the dime? Do I have to take a minute just to make it mine? Life's never fair, but don't listen to the TV. Go out and take a listen to the streets, with the people in the slums and the homeless bums, with degrees and degrees sitting under a tree. It's not easy in the world for the poor man, the one that brought you to reality. See, they don't want you to know about the black sheep, leaving 7 rows to the 12 families all around the globe with an ancient code. Is it really asking a lot to say a debt's owed? Cause we sitting on the earth looking back at extinct, and I'm standing on some ground that's about to sink. I ain't scared for a minute, I ain't about to blink, but I documented for the world what I see and think. Feel we on the call and up and we on the break. All Congress gonna do is waste paper and ink. Vote or die, you voted and you'll die. You can have it both ways, can't say it's a lie. You can march all you want, but they playing you wrong. They only understand war, it's the same old song. They want war, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. War, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want manifest the war. Like a lotus coming out of the mud with colors, I create envy in those with power but jealous. I unify the poor with my song, the hell with the others. Descended the way they treat indigenous brothers, cause I understand we link forever. They try to hate us even though that we keep it together. I'm not talking about controlling the air or the weather. I'm talking about maintaining the truth, the high endeavor. A rebel drops bombs in the midst of trouble. The free world counterattack and now there's double. But nature gets the shit in a way to settle. If you stop the machines for a minute you might hear, but they won't cause the TV's whisper in the ear. And capitalism has eyes that don't tear, and they cloud up and get crazy and won't stare. And like an ab, it's hard to get an ass to listen. Living like this is like living in prison. It's hard to keep hope when you're living in prison. The spiritual thoughts, so yes, the mental prison. The outside, yes, it's got to get through. Something's gotta die, so something here can live. Your life is nothing if you got nothing to give. Keeping the spiritual, yes, disguised as religion. Controlling more than you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. All they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. No diamonds in the more, and then you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest